Howdy, howdy, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Howdy, howdy. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Hope everybody's having as good a day as they can. What, kitty? Dang it, my A key just broke. Look, my A key just broke off. What? Like, you know when you know what they say, when it rains it pours. Worst thing that happened to me all day. Where is my cat? Where are you? I am typing too hard. Indeed I am. Where are you? Oh no, you can see I don't actually live in space. Oh no. Left. She left. Funnily enough, the cough seems like it's completely unrelated. Got a chest x-ray, all of the scans and stuff, nothing in my lungs. Completely unrelated. It might just be allergies. I might just be allergic to this state that I live in now, which would be extraordinarily funny. We did get $20 from Germs Rossalino for the no question just showing support, and I appreciate that. All right, we should probably bring up our first guest. I think we have a few. Remember, opposition only. Opposition only. Let me just write something down really quick. All right, let's bring up Ryan.
Hello.
Hello, Ryan. How's it going?
Good.
Glad to hear
you
it.
on live the other
Ryan,
day? Were you on live the other
Ryan,
day?
hold up really quick. Ryan, how old are you?
19.
Okay. Yeah, you're fine. Go ahead.
Were you on live the other day? Are you also the guy who was saying the Earth wasn't flat?
Yep.
Can I take like 10 seconds? I bet I can convince you the Earth is flat.
I bet you can't, but also it's not the topic today.
No,
so
I know. Just like really.
You got to come back on the day of the Flat Earth Day, okay? You gotta listen to them rules. All right, let's bring up Crusader. The rules are important. I don't set the rules, I just follow them. Crusader, how's it going?
All is well. How are you?
I'm doing about as well as I can. Crusader, what do you believe in a god?
Yes, I believe in the one true God.
Sure. Okay. Look, I don't. Do you want to explain to me why I should?
All that you know is coming to an end.
I don't know what that means. Threat, though.
Your world, your future is coming to an end by Galactus.
Get out of here, Crusader. Go on, get. All right, let's talk to Nola. Nola, how's it going?
Hey, how are you doing? Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Nola, do you believe in a god?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and which one would that be?
I'm Roman Catholic, so I guess.
Okay, that's enough for me. Like I get the picture. Look, so I don't.
Can I give you a compliment? I love your content, and I love your flatter stuff. I've been following you, and I just want to give you kudos and props. And
I appreciate that.
The way you handle guests, I just want to say applause to you. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. Did you actually want to like talk about
Yes.
the topic today, or okay? I wasn't sure if it was just a glaze. Yeah, sure. No, I appreciate that. So, look, I don't believe in any god, specifically your god, the god that you believe in. So, like, what is the reason that I should? What makes you think that I'm wrong?
So I don't think you're wrong. I think everyone has the right to their own belief system. So
of course you think I'm wrong.
No, I don't think you're wrong. I believe everyone should have their own
Look, if you believe that Jesus rose from the dead, right?
I believe something along those lines. So I'm loosely Roman Catholic. So I believe it, but I do have my doubts here or there. But yes, I do believe it.
Okay, and I don't. So you believe that I'm wrong.
No, I don't think anyone's. No, I don't. I'm not that kind of judgmental. No.
I'm not. You can think that someone else is wrong without being judgmental.
True. I
look, we just disagree on the facts of the matter. Like if I thought that, if I thought that the sky was red and you thought that the sky was blue, you would think that I was wrong.
That or your eyes are broken, one or the other. Yeah.
Right? I mean, either way, you would think that I'm wrong. So like,
I guess wrong is just a harsh word. I would say like maybe like just, I don't know. I think wrong is just the wrong word. I wouldn't use the word wrong, but
you just used it.
I know, but I don't know.
It's not that it's the wrong word. It's just that the word has doesn't have the correct opinion.
I apologize. I don't really.
You're fine. You're fine, Nola.
Heavy political and religious conversations, so I'm a little like green to this. But I do believe that there is some kind of creator. I don't know about an omnipotent one, but I do believe that something created this. Whether it's a god in the traditional sense of like this magical being, or maybe it's just somebody, you ever saw Men in Black where they zoom out and the universe is a bunch of marbles?
Yep. Somebody
created that marble, right? So I believe in something like that as a creator, not a necessarily, I don't know if omnipotent is the right word I'm trying to use. You probably know which word I'm thinking of. But
so when you say that you're Roman Catholic, you mean like very loosely. You mean like your parents are Roman Catholic, and so like, that's the word that you use, but you don't really believe in all of the dogma.
Yeah, I don't believe in the dogma because humans are fallible. And the Bible is written by by men, and so I believe in it as far as the spirit of the message and everything. I don't believe in like you got to go to church every Sunday or you have to do all the 7 sacraments or all of this. I believe in more of like the actual. Please correct me if I'm using the word wrong or correctly, but the more of the holistic approach of like treat others with respect, love one another. That sense, the spirit of it, as opposed to like the literal, letter for letter dogma. If that makes sense.
Sure. So what makes you of the opinion that there is some creator?
Because it feels like it can't just at some point there's got to be some type of creation, like someone created something. There's no randomness to it. Like there's always a cause and effect. So who was the cause, or what was the cause? There's that too. Because what if it's not a creator, but there's a thing that did create us, but that thing could be anything. You know what I mean? Like there is a creator, or something created us, but what is that? I don't know.
Well, look, so surely when you say something created us, you don't mean like literally created us, because we have like good reason to think that life arose via chemistry, right? And so that's not really like a something. It's just like, kind of laws of physics happening, right?
Yes.
So are you referring to like the universe as a whole, or?
I would say the universe as a whole, yeah. Like
what makes you think it was created to begin with? I mean, why couldn't it just have been always here, for example?
Like a consistent, like because time is man-made. So you're talking about what if it was just always been, right? Like infinity.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. You're that's the thing. We'll never know. And
Well, I don't think
that's
that we'll never know. I think that this is absolutely the kind of thing that we could eventually find out.
okay, yeah. I guess when I meant never, not I didn't mean like literally never, but just not in our lifetime, I think. Um, but yeah, I just think that there's something that created us, whether it is some type of random collision or thing, but there is something that created us. Now, as far as the belief system, that's where I think people should have some type of belief system. Uh, and I think it's beneficial for individuals to have the belief system in some type of religion, because if my opinion is that all religions have the same message, is treat each other with respect, kindness, dignity, and as long as we can, as long as that is the sole purpose and message of all religion, then it's not bad to have a little bit of faith in at least that spirit of religion as a whole.
So surely we agree that, like, historically speaking, this is just not the message of all religions.
Yes, it's not. Yeah, because people take it and they twist it, and that's the sad part.
Right.
Unfortunately.
And so, like, why should we, like, I mean, you know, the Inquisition, right?
Yeah, that's
like
bad. The Crusades as well.
Yeah, like, I mean, all of this stuff, like the, you know, colonization on behalf of God, all of this stuff, generally not good, doesn't involve treating people with respect. So, like, I don't know if it would be correct to say that, like, all religions, they have that central message, because clearly not.
Well,
right.
Well, no. Well, again, that's because people take it, they run with it, and they twist.
Well, people made the religions.
Right. No, I understand that, but I understand they made the religion, but I also do understand that, let's like how you said it, like, oh, you don't believe in what I believe, so that's wrong. So then they add that additional message into their overall theme. But I think that's where you need, not you, sorry, individuals need to separate that type of hatred out of the main theme of their religious belief.
So what I'm getting at roughly is that, like, I think that it could be fine if you want to believe in, like, a creator or something like that. But I think that generally speaking, saying that religion has been a power for good, I think is like, or that religion is about respecting people, I think is a very, very big stretch.
Well, I would ask, and if you don't have the answer, it's okay, it's understandable. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I do see that, like, the Buddhist religion is fairly sending the same message, and they are not known for any serious, like, war crimes or anything. If I'm wrong, please tell me.
Yep.
I'm all ears.
Yeah, so there have been Buddhist terrorists.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
I apologize.
It's not as well known, and, you know, they're perhaps not as how should I say, as prolific. But yeah, there have definitely been, like examples of, like, Buddhist nationalists who are like do violence against religious minorities, and, like, this is definitely a thing.
Okay. I apologize. I didn't know. I didn't do my research into that. It just, I apologize, but I guess you're right. It is less known. That's probably why I wasn't aware of. But I would like this. I would like to think, and I'll dig more into it on a personal thing whenever I have time. But I've yet to find a religion where the overarching theme is respect, dignity, and love for others, to your best ability. Now, has there been additions and people taking it and twisting it and such? Yes, but the overall theme has always been, like, take care of each other, and I think that's where
I think that that's a very optimistic view, and I suspect that it's not like, historically it's just not the case that that's been the overall theme.
And that's true. Historically, it's not, but that's because I think it's just that people are twisting it, and it's not supposed to be like that. Like, for instance, in Roman Catholicism, when I was in high school, I was I don't know how to say this. I don't want to have issues on your live. Homosexuality was, like, frowned upon. I don't know if I'm saying the right words.
You're fine.
All right. was frowned upon. And I remember asking the father, the priest, we call it father, call him father, but anyway, and I was like, why is this, why is that the message? He's like, well, that's not how men and women were created, yada yada yada, right? And I said, but still though, like that's not in the Bible. Like, it doesn't really say it. Like, it's an addition to
Well, but it does. It does say that one specifically.
But that was added on way later. I feel
It's
like
not really. It's in Leviticus.
Okay, all right. I feel like that's where the human man, what's the word I'm looking for? That's where like where humans make mistakes and they twist it, that like Leviticus wrote it. Well, that's his opinion of what he thinks Catholicism is, or Christianity, but that's not the overall message that was originally started in the Ten Commandments and then, right? So, because it kept being built on and built on and built on. And the original message, if you look at the original Ten Commandments, it doesn't mention that one at all.
Yeah, but it also doesn't mention... I'm also pretty sure it doesn't mention loving anybody in the Ten Commandments.
Well, it doesn't mention hating either.
Okay.
So I mean...
Look, so the point is that, like, historically, religion has been generally a force for enacting power structures.
True.
It's
like fire.
No, I mean, like, for reinforcing power structures so that you have the people at the top who have control over the people at the bottom. That's
Yes.
like historically what religion is for. Now, has it been...
what religion has been used for.
No, that was the whole thing. That was the whole organization. That was the whole purpose of organized religion, right? I mean, now, like, there was a belief structure behind it.
But you're looking at religion as an organization.
Religion is an organization.
Right.
Like, organized religion is like that's what religion is.
I'm talking about
Now, there's a separate thing. There's like faith and belief and stuff like that. You can have those without participating in religion. Religion is an organization. It's an organizational thing, right?
Yes, it is yes, there is the organizational structure of it, of course. But I'll use myself as an example. I consider myself Roman Catholic, but I don't buy into the dogma and the
Well, then you wouldn't. You're not. Then, like, strictly speaking, you're not a Roman Catholic, right?
Well,
a Roman Catholic is somebody who accepts the Nicene Creed, for example, and a few other things, accepts the supremacy of the Pope, and like there's a few other things that, like, these are the things that you have to believe and accept in order to be a Roman Catholic, right? And if you don't do those, then, like, that's fine. You can have similar beliefs, but, like, you being a Roman Catholic is having a specific kind of belief.
Right, but see, I do believe in Catholicism and the whole spirit of it all. I'm trying to approach it to where I'm not trying to, like. Oh, sorry, someone's calling me. I believe in it. I just don't believe in the dogma, the structure that humans put onto the religion itself. Like,
how do you tell the difference between the structure that humans put onto the religion and the belief part?
The way I separate it is what benefit is it to me as a person spiritually to follow that structure compared
but, like,
to...
Look, do you know where the Ten Commandments were originally given? Like, what book it's in?
Old Testament, right?
More specifically, I'm pretty sure it's in Exodus. But yeah, it's in the Hebrew Bible. It's in the Torah, specifically the 5 books of Moses. In the same set of 5 books of Moses, God also sends down another 608 laws or so.
What, Beatitudes and all?
No, not the Beatitudes. These are the things that the Jews follow, right? But so in the same book where the 10 commandments are sent down, there's also commandments about, it is an abomination if a man were to sleep with another man as he would sleep with a woman. There are verses about, or there are laws about how you should stone someone to death if they commit adultery. So like, it's not like the 10 Commandments are any more proper or any more official than any of the other laws that are given. So it's just not clear to me how you distinguish between, oh, the 10 Commandments, those are the ones that are like legit, and then all of these other ones are just like human things.
Right. I understand that, and I appreciate you challenging me on that. And it's a good way for me to look reevaluate. I just, yeah, I can understand that. What laws were those, or commands, or?
I mean, you can just look at the, like, they're often called like the Levitical laws. They're like Leviticus is basically the book of laws. It's where like the laws came down, the commandments came down, where Moses gave all of the different commandments.
Old Testament, right?
Yeah.
Testament. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm not prepared better.
You're fine.
Jump up and meet you and talk to you, but also, just, yeah, and it kind of opened my horizon,
You're fine.
up my eyes, The one thing I did do when I was a lot younger is I did go to several different churches, such as I went to Temple a few times. I went to other different like Baptist and Methodist, churches once or twice. And the reason is because I'm open to learning more. So I was like, oh, well, how did they do things here? What did they teach here? What did they teach there? And I think that's where I got the idea of like the overall arching theme of multiple religions is love and respect each other, because that's kind of the messages that I've seen from other places, regardless of the historical events. But if we stuck to those, like the core of that message, that would be great. But anyway, I know I'm being idealistic, but I don't know.
The question is just what the core is. Nola, I'm going to let you go.
No, yeah,
you have some things to do. But thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
By the way, there's something interesting that's probably worth bringing up. Well, we can, I'll bring it up when I read the super chats. I'm going to read some super chats and then we'll bring up our next guest. So from Gus Bus with the £5. Hi Blitz, I know it's not much, but I hope this helps in any way. I hope you recover from the cancer. I really like your videos and have a good day. Well, yeah, me too. I appreciate you. I appreciate you and I appreciate it. If you're just finding out about this, well, now you know. From Dwayne Warren with the $5, the 10 Commandments are universal moral law. The rest of the Mosaic Law includes national and ritual laws given specifically to Israel. So here's the thing. If you go look at the Mishnah, which is the rabbinic commentary on the Torah, on the Mosaic Law, what you'll find is that explicitly, one of the rabbis who was writing in the Mishnah, he writes, is Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi, writes, be as scrupulous in observing a seemingly minor commandment as a seemingly major commandment, because you do not know the value of each commandment, the commandments being the laws. So this is to say, the rabbis who interpret the rabbinic or the Mosaic Law, these rabbis were specifically telling you, yeah, just be as careful to follow all the minor laws as much as the major laws, because you don't know which one's more important. And from Bacon and Bush with the 20 Dr. Blitz gift memberships. So thank you so much, Bacon and Bush. And for everybody who just got the one of the 20 gift memberships, that's enormous and huge and very much appreciated. I'm sure that you guys all appreciate it. Make sure that you go activate it, because it's, now you have a month's worth of access to my emojis, a month's worth of access to my debate notes, which are really, really helpful. And memberships help me keep this channel alive. They encourage me to keep doing this. They are more regular and more reliable than they are, say like individual super chats. So they're really helpful in that way to keep things going. And similarly, from Germs Rossalino with the 20 Dr. Blitz gift memberships, that is enormous. So thank you guys so much. Yes, so in case you didn't see it, there is a health announcement that I made on TikTok and in Discord and various places. So yeah, I have a thing. It's called cancer, almost certainly. We still don't know what it is. I'd rather not go into the details on a live stream. So we'll just keep doing what we're doing, okay? And eat some shorts with the 10 Dr. Blitz Debunks gift memberships. So, geez, you guys are being very generous. So, by the way, these gift memberships, you don't have to keep them up, but if you do, that's really cool. Anyway, let's talk to our next guest. You guys are so generous today. All right, let's talk to Maximilian.
Alrighty. Hello, can you hear me?
I can. Mags, how's it going?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing as best as I can. Mags, do you believe in a god?
So this is where my question is kind of in the middle because I'm like kind of arguing your point, but not fully because I'm not a fan of organized religion. I think that that's kind of some BS.
That's fine.
However, my question here is, do we believe in consciousness that is on a higher wavelength or a different form, different dimension than us as human beings? And where does that correlate and conflate with religion and a god? I don't know if I phrased that in a way that makes sense, but
You didn't?
okay, so I would say think about so I'm in the sense that I believe that there are entities and higher energy forms and consciousness that is different than us in ways that we can't see or perceive here in our 3D world, but that doesn't make it less real. It's just something that we cannot perceive in our body, in our form.
Why would you think that those things exist?
Because there's tons of things in this realm that exist that we can't perceive just because we don't have the ears and the eyes and the things to perceive it. Like a perfect, small example would be tones that dogs can hear, like dog whistles that we can just not perceive with our ears.
Right, but we can measure those. Can we measure these higher power energy conscious beings?
Yes, so that's kind of where my question is. That's what I'm curious about and what I research and think about in my own time is just because we don't have the tools to measure it or perceive it at this point in time, does that mean that there aren't conscious beings or energy forms of information that exist in this infinite universe? We just can't measure it yet because looking at things, you're smarter than me and you have more information within quantum mechanics and quantum physics, but kind of understanding where all of that resonates from and what that means if we understood that fully.
Look, you can say that just because we can't measure it yet doesn't mean it doesn't exist, and that's true. Mm-hmm. But if we can't measure it yet, we certainly shouldn't believe that it exists.
Yes, I guess that's my question. I guess I'm not trying to say, yes, there's all these different beings and they look like this and they act like this and this is what they are, but I think
we shouldn't believe that they exist at all unless we have reason or evidence to think so.
Yes, but I guess my question is when you look at the trend of science and discovery, a lot of it comes from people going, I think that there could be something there, even though there's no tangible evidence at this point in time. I see and I predict that there could be, that there might be. And so that's
Can you give me an example of that happening with the kind of thing that you're talking about?
I would say, things even with Einstein and all of those physicists and theoretical science people, a lot of their research at the beginning stages was questioned, or are they
it being questioned is not the same as, oh, we don't have any evidence to think that this is true, but what if?
I'm sorry, say that again.
So the fact that people were questioning the pioneering work of people like Einstein and Planck and so on and so forth has nothing to do with whether or not there was evidence for their claims.
Okay.
You're making the claim that these people, they were just going off of vibes, that there was no evidence for the things that they were saying. They were just kind of intuiting that they existed and then they proved it. That's historically, that's not the case.
Okay. I guess a question that I have for you then is, what do you define as consciousness?
A thing that a thing that brains do?
A thing that brains do. Okay, so
And maybe
what
maybe I
exact
should say a thing that some brains do.
that some brains do. So I guess that's kind of the thing too, is there's no definitive, there becomes a lot of gray area with what a brain does in consciousness, because my level of consciousness as a human being is different than a dog or a cat or a small animal, but yet we all are conscious in our own way. Does that make sense? Like, we are all
Sure, but don't see, like, look, I'm happy to agree with you
Mhm.
that humans have a conscious experience. I'm probably even happy to agree with you that like dogs and cats and pigs and, you know, lizards have conscious experiences.
Mhm.
I don't see how this has anything to do with like higher power, extra dimensional energy consciousnesses. I don't see, like,
So I
they just
guess
don't, they
like
seem unconnected.
so I guess this is where I struggle to have like the actual scientific language. So I use kind of like metaphorical and gestural things, but kind of going back to again, like before we had the tools to measure it, I don't, X amount of 100 years ago, 50 years ago, we would say that these pitches, these frequencies that were dog whistles or radiation or electromagnetic waves, they were non existent. That was just like not a thing. We did not have the data. We did not have the science. We did not have
Yeah,
the tools to
and you would
measure
have been
it.
justified in not believing that they existed.
Yes. But again, our,
And you would
even
not
though,
have been justified in believing that they existed.
but that's the thing though, at that point, because the tools did not exist for us as human beings to perceive it, but that didn't mean that it didn't exist within the universe. We just didn't have the
I'm
capacity and the
aware.
consciousness.
I'm asking you for what your justification is for believing that there is this higher extra dimensional vibrational energy consciousness thing is.
Yes, and I guess I should also specify too is that I don't think this higher being is like one
I'm not saying that you do. I'm just asking
omnipresent.
for thinking that any such thing exists. What is your
Yeah.
justification for that belief?
My justification is again that we right now in our universe we have tons of different organisms and species and plants, animals, everything that operate on their own consciousness and their own frequency, and they exist and they are real, they're tangible, they are things that we can
Yep.
like
Things
acknowledge
exist in our world.
scientifically.
I agree.
Yes. And then again, because our science and our tools are constantly evolving and developing, just because we do not have the tools and apparatuses to see in these different planes or different dimensions or reach this minute level of like measuring, because we can get down to the like 0.000000 of things, but we can't get down as small as we'd like, even on a subatomic level. Like we can't figure out exactly what's happening with the quarks and the things like that. We're still trying to figure that out. Like we truly don't have the information to figure it all out, but that doesn't mean that there's not more information to figure out. Does that
Look,
make sense? So I guess my
saying that
question,
we don't have evidence of it yet is not
Mhm.
justification that it exists.
Yes, I guess my argument to you or my proposition is not, I'm not trying to say or get you to say yes, it's real and you should believe in it. My hope and question is to get you more on the side of, just because I can't see it yet, should I totally turn my back on trying to examine it or lean into the
In
possibility?
the absence of evidence, you should not believe in it. Yes.
Then so again, so that like if you say that
Or
right there,
justification. You know, you can
so
use
in
other
the
forms
absence
of
of
justification.
evidence, so that's where I'm kind of confused, because you are a big science guy,
Mm-hmm.
and according to your standards and having that type of attitude, then how
Mm-hmm.
could any sort of scientific discovery evolve if we just stopped at what was right in front of our noses?
No, you look,
Like science,
so you don't stop at what's right in front of your noses. What you do is you don't form beliefs about things you don't have evidence for. You can investigate, you can build new machines and see if those new machines detect things, but you don't believe those, you don't believe that they will detect things until they have detected the thing.
okay,
That's how you do science. That's how you do science responsibly. Otherwise, you're coming in with cognitive bias.
okay. I hear what you're saying there. Like I guess I'm saying like I don't believe, like my stance is that I would assume and hypothesize that there are different levels of consciousness that exist in different planes that we cannot perceive
Why would you assume that?
because of the mere vastness of this universe and the complexities of it, and how intense and how profound quantum mechanics and quantum physics and how gravity and electromagnetism, how all of those things dance and move together. That's such a confusing like science frontier for us, and we truly really don't understand all of it to a minute and specific level to where we can like pinpoint and say, okay, yes, when the gravity spins this way and does this, and there's X amount of force, and on this type of planet or this type of thing within the universe, it's gonna play out and create Earth and make it like we can't
So
go
for
back
what it's
in
worth,
time.
at that level, we do understand it. There are gaps. There are places where we don't understand it, but we understand these things far better than I think you think that we do.
I guess so. Here's the thing. Like while we understand how a lot of the metrics work within like general relativity and quantum mechanics and quantum physics, we do not have enough of a detailed grasp on it to actually pinpoint how and why everything in our universe, even just on planet Earth, has manifested in the way that it has. Like, yes, we can go back to the Big Bang and say, okay, yes, these molecules, when they went together, they did this, it created this explosion, which then allowed these molecules to come together and then form Earth and condense from this matter. But we cannot give like an explicit write down of every single part of the composition of this Earth and why we have all of the elements that we do and why they formed in this way.
Look, so let's say that would you say that like we know how like a baseball, like the mechanics of a baseball being thrown works, like how it flies through the air?
Yes, but I would say that again, there's still some slight nuance to that because again, we understand how it's working from our perception and our perspective, but there's still influence within the universe and how we're moving through space, how we're turning through time, how everything is constant. Like nothing is 100%
Which part of the
consistent.
baseball flying through the air do we not understand?
I would say that's the thing. Like again, I think that we can calculate it and understand it from our plane and our perspective here on how should I word this? Like we can quantify and say that if we throw something at X miles per hour at X arch, it'll land here and it'll take X amount of seconds or X amount of time to do so. Like I understand that we can.
So which part do we not understand?
I think the part that we're missing is the nuance of like while that is like we can chart
What
that.
nuance? What are we missing?
The fact that the Earth is constantly evolving and changing as we're moving through space. Like that's again the
Okay,
part
what
of
does
the
that have to do with the
quantum
baseball flying through the air?
The fact that it's even if it's a 0.00000000001 part of like amount of change each time you're throwing that ball, it's technically, if we want to get like super specific about it, like you could throw the ball and I could throw it in my yard and throw it at 20 miles an hour at X height and it lands where it does. Yes, technically on the Earth, it'll land at that same spot if I do it at the same time. However, in the universe, it's still not technically at the same spot because we've moved through space. The Earth has turned because of the rotation. Like
how is that relevant to the trajectory of the baseball?
Because it's again, it's depending on the Einstein's
trajectory of the
theory
baseball.
relativity.
We can describe the trajectory of the baseball with respect to the surface of the Earth, no problem. We don't need Einstein's
Yes, but
relativity
again,
for that.
that's my thing. There is like the theory of relativity as
We don't
yes,
need
it's
relativity for
accurate.
that.
But you do. But this is where I'm like confused because again, like you can throw it on the Earth and say, okay, I'm going to throw it at this speed, at this whatever, and it's going to land right here on X. I agree with you, and I think that that's something tangible. That's a fact. We can calculate that. However, what impact and what nuance is there to also appreciate that while it might be on this same spot here on Earth, technically, if you zoom out, it's not.
So I'm suggesting, I'm asking, from the Earth's reference frame, Earth's reference frame.
Yes.
Is there anything about the trajectory of the baseball that we don't understand?
No, but my point is not about the Earth.
Okay.
That you
so
cut
then,
me off.
so, okay, but
I didn't get to finish my
that's what
statement.
my question was about.
Okay, but I know, but that's where I'm asking you to like appreciate the nuance and the bigger thing here. Again, going back to the other consciousnesses, is consciousnesses, however you want to say it, is that again, when you look at the earth and you throw this ball, you're going, yes, it's going to land on X spot on the earth. But technically, that's our perspective as being humans on the earth, because that's the plane in which we are residing.
It's a totally valid
experiencing
reference
life.
frame.
I know, and I'm not disagreeing with that. Like, I think that's totally valid. I'm not trying to dispute that that's not true. Like, I 100% agree with you.
Okay, so then we agree that there's nothing mysterious about the trajectory of a baseball frame.
Can I finish my statement? I feel like you keep cutting
Earth.
me off when I keep trying to get to like my point. My
Well,
point
because
here is that
you're
I'm not
going
but you keep
off on a
cutting me off.
complete
Can you give me
tangent.
like another 30 seconds, please?
You're
Can you
going
give
off
me
on a
like another
complete
30 seconds?
tangent.
No, I'm not.
Sure,
This
so
is
long
my-
as
this is
you
what I'm
stay
asking
on
you.
topic.
But this is what I'm asking you to appreciate is what impact, again, if you're trying to actually measure the truth of the ball and where it's actually at, if you zoom out your frame of reference from not being on the earth, but being on a satellite or being on the moon or being somewhere else, it's not actually in that same spot. Even if you're throwing it at the same distance, the same velocity, the same time, and it's landing on first base on the baseball field on earth, technically, when you are pinpointing that ball and its motion through space, it's not actually landing in that same spot.
That's why I was asking about relative to the earth, from the earth's reference frame. I don't care about the other stuff. I'm asking from the earth's reference frame, is there anything that we're missing about the trajectory of the baseball?
I know, and that's the attitude right there that I'm trying to like question, is like, you're like, I don't care because that's
can
not
you just
what I'm
answer my
perceiving.
question?
Okay,
I asked you a question. I asked you this question specifically like 10 minutes ago, and you haven't answered it yet. You keep talking about like, oh, like the nuance of the earth is spinning and it's moving through space. I'm asking about with reference to the earth, the earth's reference frame. Can we predict? Is there anything that we are not understanding about the trajectory of the baseball?
No.
Okay, great. Does it matter that we don't understand the exact location and position of every single quirk in the baseball in order to understand the trajectory of the baseball?
Yes and no. Like, that's where, again, like, I think you can, like, I agree. No on the sense of what we're trying to calculate and figure. If you just want to know where the baseball is going to land, no, you do not need to know every single microscopic grain within that baseball to see where the big mass of it lands. However, if you want to look at how that ball interacts and because again, nothing is actually a solid form. It's all of these vibrations and frequencies, all of these quarks and everything are not actual solid combined molecules. It's everything dancing and spinning around itself. Like, everything is constantly in motion. So if I wanted to then do research on what's actually happening between the baseball and the blades of grass or the earth, and what's happening, like what type of, again, gravitational relative fields is this making on a microscopic level when you look at a baseball on earth versus when you look at the earth in relation to the moon or whatever. Like, again, this is like a ball in space moving, and the size of it and the mass of it and all these things change the amount of pull that it's making. Like, we agree that the earth and the moon have gravitational pull on one another, and the baseball does in fact have a gravitational pull, but it's so microscopic and minute that we would argue that it really has no effect on the earth and the grass and everything that you're measuring on. But that, again, that's where I go back to our tools and our research is limited in the fact that we cannot truly perceive at such microscopic levels and even macroscopic levels. And so that's where I get into the question of,
the reason I'm asking this question is because we can know everything that we need to know about the baseball's trajectory as it flies, in the air relative to the earth, without knowing anything about quarks moving around inside the baseball. And just because we don't know about the quarks moving around inside the baseball, it doesn't mean that extra dimensional baseballs exist. Just because we don't have a full understanding of every single detail doesn't mean that we are reasonably or that we are being reasonable if we therefore infer that there is, extra dimensional, higher frequency consciousnesses. Not having complete knowledge here doesn't mean that anything that you can imagine is real.
I know but I'm not, okay. So like, I hear you. What I'm trying to question is truly our definition of consciousness and what it means for something to have a brain or to understand its surroundings is not a concrete definition. Like, we can say, oh, a human brain has consciousness because we believe that our experience and what we're seeing is an accurate depiction of our space and our surrounding. But in reality, that's just relative to our perception and the brain capability that we have. Because again, if you look through the eyes of a dog or an owl or something else, what we're hearing, what we're seeing, the colors of it, the shapes of it, what you're seeing is totally different. So the question is like, what's actually the most accurate representation of consciousness, and what's the most accurate depiction of the earth in front of us?
These are
And
really good questions. I don't see how any of them get you to an inference that there is some like higher dimensional, higher energy consciousness.
I guess I guess I wouldn't say higher in the sense that it's like better than us or like
I didn't say
smarter.
better. I didn't say any of
But
those.
I think higher dimension has this connotation of it
Didn't you
being
use
again
that
like,
word?
yes, but I want to clarify that like when I say higher
I'm
consciousness,
using it in whatever sense you're referring to.
okay, I want to clarify that it higher consciousness doesn't necessarily mean like better or godly or omnipotent, whatever you want to say. It's just that it is different and that it perceives the world in a different way. And I think that there could be an argument that there's consciousness that is existing that has, again, like a brain that's able to take in information and perceive the earth, but it's not visible to us in a way that we
Okay,
would
what's the
perceive as
argument
like
for it then?
structured.
You said that there is an argument. What's the argument?
Again, going back to the fact that within scientific research within the past hundreds of years is we couldn't see electromagnetic waves, we couldn't see these other parts of these light
Okay, we're
spectrums
gonna
and
have to
wave
formalize
spectrums.
this for you.
Why are you
One
cutting
sec.
me off? Like, does that not like that?
No,
That's
it's
my
a non-argument, and this is why I'm going to formalize this for you, because it'll help clarify why this is a non-argument.
But I think that is an argument because that's the whole
It's not,
frontier
which is
of
why
science.
which is why I'm formalizing it for you.
To you, though, you don't
No,
think
I mean
so.
it's just this is just like definitionally not an argument, right? Or it's at least not a valid argument. So your premise one is something like historically in the past there were real physical things that we were. Sorry, my A key just popped off. That we were incapable of measuring or detecting, right? That's your first premise of the argument that you're trying to offer, right? And then it goes something like P2, if in the past there were real physical things that we were incapable of measuring or detecting. Okay, actually, I guess this is a valid argument. It's not a sound argument, but we'll get there. That we were measuring. I guess I made it valid for you. Valid doesn't mean correct, by the way.
Don't take credit for
no,
that,
no,
my
you
guy.
didn't.
Like,
You didn't make this valid, by the way. I'm formalizing this for you.
I've been saying this entire time.
To be clear, valid doesn't mean correct. Valid means that it's it like has a like particular formal form. But anyway, if in the past there were real physical things that we were incapable of measuring or detecting, then something like then it is likely, or let's say it is plausible, that there exists higher energy, not in like the superior sense, higher energy extra dimensional consciousnesses that I probably spelled that wrong. And then your conclusion is that it is plausible. This is the argument that you're presenting, right?
Yes and no. I feel like at the end you're paraphrasing. So like, yes, because in the past there were, and again, I don't. This all stems from an understanding of wavelengths and forms and things on a scientific, tangible level, from the minusculeness of quarks all the way up to big gravitational waves and all this stuff. Is that we are constantly trying to evolve and deepen our understanding of these waves and how they dance and play around together. We do not have a
Is this the
concrete-
argument that you're making here? Like, have I correctly summarized the claim?
I would say yes, but I guess the other thing to clarify is like our perception of consciousness, I also think, is limited to a human bias and what we perceive to be. Again, we only understand consciousness and intelligence in the way
Okay.
that we can grasp it through our brains. I
So
think
it
that
was
again,
a yes. Now, can you justify this premise, the second one here?
if in the past there were real physical things that we were incapable of measuring and detecting, then it's possible that there exist, again, other energies that we, yes. What do you
Can you
like
justify this? Can you justify this premise?
justify it how? Like, yes,
Give
like,
some sort of reason why anyone should think it's true?
because that's the whole fun. What? Yes, justify it, because again, all of our understanding of science and research is going to understand this stuff. Like, I'm confused on what you're asking me to justify. I feel like I've been justifying this the entire time. Like,
Look,
our
so let me give you an example of why I think that this kind of claim needs justification. If chemical and or let's say if chemical warfare was conducted in the first half of the 20th century, then it is plausible that antimatter dark matter warfare will be conducted in the future. Clearly that's not like a justified claim, right?
But that also, I feel like that's not a concrete thing, because that's not taking into account like other effects of like what people are fighting on, why they're fighting, what they're using, like just be that like.
Yeah, so you're right. It's not the thing I said is not justified, because just because something happened in the past to some unrelated thing about some unrelated thing, in this case chemical warfare, doesn't mean that some future thing will ever happen about some other unrelated thing, like dark matter warfare. So you're making the claim that there was like a kind of sound that we didn't know about 150 years ago.
So what has
and now
the most
you're using that to
consciousness then in our
infer.
universe?
You're using that to infer that at some point in the future, or that it's at least plausible that there exists these other unrelated things that might exist. That inference is not justified, and I'm asking for the justification.
So what if? Okay, going back to the consciousness, what in your opinion on this earth has the highest level of consciousness and awareness of its surroundings? Like, do you truly believe that that's human beings?
You mean by highest level? If you mean by like most aware, yeah, then human, absolutely humans.
See, that's like my point right there. Is I think again that's like the human bias of thinking that we are the smartest and we're just like the shepherds of the earth, and that we know everything, and we are the only ones that have the brain capacity to understand the earth and see it in its true light. And that's kind of my my basis for my whole argument here is that I think that as human beings, we put ourselves on this pedestal as thinking that our brain is the most equipped to understand, but that's really not true. This is just our brain, even though we've done a lot.
You can't say that's really not true. You have no justification for thinking that that's not true.
But you have no justification for thinking that it's true either.
I'm not making the claim that we are absolutely the highest, most sophisticated thing in the universe. I'm just not making a claim about it either way. I don't have a belief about it either way. You're making the positive claim that it's false that we're the most sophisticated thing in the universe, that there are these higher energy or extra dimensional or whatever, frequency stuff. You're making the claim that those things plausibly do exist, and you need to justify that.
Again, so that's I feel like that's the catch-22, is because again, I don't have the scientific research right in front of me to be like, yes, these other dimensional consciousness things exist. But again, we understand and appreciate that there are these other dimensions, and that when they...
What other dimensions do we have evidence for?
I mean, with quantum mechanics and all of these things, that's the argument of there being time as a different dimension, these 9 space dimensions up to 9 to make it all play out.
String theory. Are you making the claim that string theory is true?
I think that there could be some truth to it. And again,
What evidence do you have that supports that?
Again, that's where I'm I'm not an expert in this. I'm researching this as we go. I'm reading books. I'm like The Elegant Universe and Reality's Mirror. Those are 2 that I'm reading right now that have kind of sparked this question within me of
you should read the book Not Even Wrong.
Okay.
It's by what's his name? Let me pull up the book. If you're I read The Elegant Universe, I read Fabric of Reality, I read these books. I think that they're good books. But there's a book by but if you're going to read those books, which are very pro string theory, you should also read Not Even Wrong by Peter White.
Let me
because
write it down.
it'll give you a more balanced view.
And here's the thing, like I don't like believe wholeheartedly that string theory is wrong or right. Not
Well,
okay, not even real.
I mean, so it's called Not Even Wrong.
Not even wrong. By who?
Peter White. It's Peter spelled in the normal way, and then W-O-I-T.
W-O-I-T. Okay.
So the reason I say this is because if you just read the stuff by Brian Greene and Michio Kaku, the perspective that you'll get is that like string theory is like obviously true, and so like there's obviously these higher dimensions, but that's like not even, that is by no means the consensus. What you're reading is, I mean, like Brian Greene and Michio Kaku are both string theorists, so these are people who obviously have a bias towards string theory.
Yeah.
So, you know, just to get a more balanced view, you should read something like Peter White is also very obviously biased against string theory, but then at least you get the perspective from both
Two
sides.
sides of them. Okay. Yeah.
But my point is that like, it sounds like a lot of this is predicated on speculation upon speculation upon speculation that we don't really have any reason to think is like actually real, right? Like we don't have any reason to think that there are extra dimensions. We have no evidence that supports that as of right now. Absolutely none. If there were, then somebody would have won a Nobel Prize for it. We have no evidence to think that like, you know, consciousness is like some kind of extra dimensional energy. We have no evidence to think that there are higher beings. We have no evidence for any of this. So why should anyone think that it's even plausible?
Because again, I think that we cannot, when it comes to consciousness and getting a definitive term and definition of what that means and what the cutoff is and what the limitlessness of that is, we have no definition of like what the smallest amount of matter together, and when that moves around and becomes a brain or some squishy, some little computer like object within the universe, we have no definition of what the tiniest amount of consciousness actually is.
Okay, so go read the philosophy, but don't just make stuff up.
But that's the thing. I guess I'm not making stuff up. This is just like my hypothesis of saying like, if
a hypothesis has to be based on observation, right? It has to be based on some sort of evidence. That's how you form a hypothesis. You make an observation, you propose a hypothesis that is based on that observation. So what's the observation that this is based on?
The observation that we cannot define the smallest.
That's not an observation. An observation is a thing that you observe in the world. Right? An observation is not like our failure to do a philosophical thing.
Even though I haven't done the scientific research, I can argue and say and observe and say that we do not have a definitive, concrete definition of what consciousness is and what it stems from and what allows us to have the human experience, or what allows other animals that we decide have consciousness. Like we don't have like a qualitative and a quantitative metric for what that standard is of, oh, you need to have X amount of molecules of this. They have to have X amount of this. They have to dance this way. They have to move
that's
this way.
all true. So
Yes.
if you, so
So
you're
that's
proposing this
question.
extra dimensional higher frequency consciousnesses as an explanation for how does your proposed hypothesis explain the observation that you made, and what predictions does it make?
So I think it explains it because, again, if we cannot prove what the smallest amount of things coming together makes a consciousness, then if we know and we agree, we have not discovered everything there is to discover within the universe. We do not have all the metrics and the scientific tools to measure down to the microscopic level within atoms and the subatomic particles that create them, and then on the huge massive levels of all of these things within the universe and how it all moves together. Why is it so offlandish to assume that there are other forms of consciousness or information that move within the world and the universe that simply we cannot see because we do not have the metrics or the forethought to even perceive it? Because again, it's not even in our radar.
You didn't even answer my question. My question was, how does your hypothesis explain the observation that you made? An explanation is something like this, and I'll just give you an example. Suppose we observe that the sky is blue, right? It's an observation that we can all make. You look up at the sky, it's blue. We propose an explanation, a hypothesis, if you will. The hypothesis might be something like, well, air is actually made of tiny billiard balls, and when the light bounces off of those tiny billiard balls, only blue light can bounce off of those tiny billiard balls and the rest of the light doesn't. That would be a hypothesis. And the reason this is an explanation is because if it's the case that air is made of tiny billiard balls and the sky is, filled with air, then the only way that we could see the blue is if the blue is the only thing that's bouncing off of it. That would be an explanation. It accounts for the data. But what you've offered, that there's these extra dimensional higher frequency consciousness things, doesn't actually account for the observation that led you to that hypothesis to begin with. Which means it's just not a hypothesis. It's kind of a shower thought.
In your perspective, yes. I guess, again, like even going back to your explanation there with the sky being blue and all that, again, we as human beings perceive it to be blue because of what our body takes in and what our eyes take in and what we can measure through our experience of consciousness. But again, to a different animal or to something else, the sky
it's like
might
you
not
didn't
be blue.
understand the purpose of my analogy on purpose.
No. That's like, but
So
that's
it
like
was
my
on
whole
accident?
argument. No, I genuinely I understand what you're saying. But again, my whole argument kind of comes to the root of like, we can only understand what we can understand because of the brain capacity that we have as human beings. Like, I'm not saying that the argument is wrong, that the sky is blue and that we see it as blue because of these billiard balls and all that. Like that can be 100% correct. But also, again, at the same time, if you were a different animal or you're a dog or whatever they see the sky as and they see it as purple, that is still 100% correct. And the dog could have a hypothesis.
That's irrelevant for the example I offered.
Not.
It literally is. The example I offered is merely an example of the kind of okay. I wasn't making an argument. I was offering you an example of how the hypothesis formation process works. Right?
I know.
You have an observation and then you offer an explanation for it. That doesn't have to be a correct explanation. You could have missed something in your observation, but you have an observation and you offer an explanation. You haven't done that for the problem that you're offering regarding consciousness. You said, we don't know what fundamentally makes up consciousness. We don't know what the smallest piece of matter is that makes consciousness. And so I'm going to try to explain that by saying that there's higher dimensional, higher frequency, extra whatever consciousness is. And then you didn't offer any explanation for how your hypothesis explains and answers the problem that you brought up in the first place. You've made no link between these extra dimensional consciousnesses and the smallest piece of consciousness that you can make with matter. You've made no link there.
Okay, well, I guess my argument would be, well, since we can see again that there's consciousness within our Earth now and what we're experiencing as human beings, and again, you can argue and you agree that our scope of understanding and perceiving the world is also limited to our ability to perceive it with our brain capacity and our bodies. Like, it's like the universe is infinite and things, again, we see on the Earth all the time, like everything, like there's so many different forms of everything. So why would we assume that it just stops at what we can perceive as human beings? Like, that's my argument. It's like,
that's not an look, okay, you understand that a hypothesis, the goal of a hypothesis is to explain some unexplained observation, right? Sure. That is what a hypothesis is for. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't do that, it's not a hypothesis.
Okay.
So how does your hypothesis that these higher frequency consciousnesses exist, how does that explain the thing that you said we didn't have an explanation for?
This is where I think there's like a miscommunication here of like what I'm trying to like explain and like say. Like my argument is that like I'm just trying to, like, my whole argument from the beginning of this is like, I don't believe that yes, for 100% fact, there are these beings that operate like this and the consciousness forms this way and it's on this dimension and this, that, and the third. My only hypothesis and only like question to scientists and other people is that, like, just because we can't observe it or we don't see it and it's not in our radar doesn't mean that it couldn't be existing right now and other things couldn't be observing it. Because again, like on a spiritual note and things like that, if you've ever experienced things that are paranormal or you have animals that have like moved and done weird things, like what are they perceiving? What are they hearing? What's happening? That they're acknowledging something that's in the room that I cannot see, that I cannot understand, that I cannot perceive. They see it as a consciousness or some sort of being, some sort of form, some sort of sound, some sort of whatever they're seeing some sort of disturbance in the world. I know that's kind of woo-woo, and I know that's like again. But that's kind of my point, is like, why I feel like just as scientists and in our scientific research, we're very, very biased to go, well, if I can't see it in my human eyes and my human ears and my human brain, then it's not worth looking at and it's not real and it's not happening
Mags.
at this moment in time.
Okay, so I can't see the invisible teapot that's orbiting Jupiter and knows the future. The teapot knows the future.
See, now you're being just like totally like.
Does that mean that I should think that the invisible teapot orbiting Jupiter is a plausible thing that actually exists?
See, well, that's the thing. Like, you're throwing out like this like crude example of like.
By the way,
oh,
this
it's
is like a
magic
really
teapot.
famous example. It's not crude. It goes back to Russell. It's called Russell's teapot. This is like
Okay,
a
well, that's
pretty well-known example.
okay, but that's fine. But I like what I'm.
And to be clear, I'm proposing a teapot that's invisible and knows the future. You're proposing extra-dimensional, higher frequency consciousnesses.
Yeah.
And
Because
mine's crude?
again, what defines consciousness? We cannot define consciousness and what it actually is. So what's to say that there isn't consciousness or information or things that are sentient to some sort of caliber and degree? Because I could also argue that things like plants are sentient and conscious in their own form because they take in
Well,
information, they move and do stuff. Like,
I mean, you
what's
could
to
argue.
say?
I'd love to hear you argue that, but we'd probably end up down a rabbit hole. My point is because we can't know, because we don't know everything, it doesn't therefore follow that you can propose anything.
Yes, I guess I'm not like my argument and my want for the science community is not to just, I'm not saying go, yep, everything's real and there's all these extra consciousness and they exist on a million platforms or a million levels and a million dimensions, yada, 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 yada. I'm not saying to just like wholeheartedly agree with that. I just feel as though the science community is very obstinate on even looking in that direction and even like thinking about trying to observe it or perceive it and go, are there other conscious forms? What could we define that as life, a consciousness, an entity outside of our own?
Should they also be looking for the invisible teapot that orbits Jupiter?
If they feel inclined and they feel as though it changes our understanding of the universe and how it...
Well, it knows everything. It knows the future. So, like, it would change our understanding if it was real.
Yeah.
Because it knows the future.
So, again,
so they should. You're telling me that the scientists should start looking in the orbit around Jupiter for an invisible, all-knowing teapot.
if they want to, if they feel inclined. Like, again, it's their own
I'm asking,
prerogative.
do you think that this is like a good use of time amongst the scientific community?
It could be. Again, lots of science, though, isn't a good use of time, and it all turns out to be a crock of crap. Like, that's a majority of scientific research to begin with. Like, you're trying to be like, well, that was a waste of time. So is about almost all of the scientific research that's been done, except the things that stick since the dawn of time.
The way that we... And look, I have to ask, like, how many scientists have you interacted with? Like, do you know personally,
Multiple.
or... Okay.
Like,
so,
actual scientists?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like people who like are actually involved in the field. So
Yeah.
we don't have infinite
Biostructural engineers and biochemists, yes.
we don't have infinite time, right? Like nobody has infinite time. There's only 24 hours in the day. We have lives. We have to prioritize our research, right? And so if your goal is to do the best science you can, it seems like the best way to do that would be to focus on things that we have evidence that they exist. Study things that we have evidence for. For example, if we if we build some sort of detector, like if we build a particle collider, and then we detect something new, well, now that we have evidence that that new thing exists, and we can go and study that. But it doesn't make sense to just try to study something that we have no reason to think exists whatsoever.
Because you personally do not think it exists. And again, I'm not a scientist.
No, we have no reason to think that it exists. Like there's no justification for believing that it exists.
But at
least you haven't offered one.
I'm like, but I feel like that's like so interesting though, because I feel like we do, considering that there's so many different levels of consciousness just on this earth. Like our consciousness as human beings is different than the consciousness.
Yep, and there are people who study consciousness of things that exist.
I know,
absolutely,
but again,
people study that stuff.
The things that exist are only the thing. Like that's my point. Is like there are so many things that exist, and because again, we can't see these other conscious beings, or we don't see them in a 3D field or plane.
So
We're just
meaning
totally
that,
throwing it off the table.
or alternatively, they just don't exist. And it doesn't make
But
sense to look
again,
for things that don't
going
exist.
back to the research back in the day, where again, before hundreds of thousands of years ago,
And we've looped.
when we have frequencies, we have electromagnetic waves, we have radiation, we have light spectrums. Like, this was not perceivable. They did not, like, this
And
was
you
not
would have been
understood.
totally justified in saying, yeah, it's not worth the time looking for these things that
I know,
we have
and
no
that's what I'm
evidence
saying.
for
It's like,
exist.
just because you right now don't think that it's worth it doesn't mean that it's not a possible thing. And that's like my
The claim is not that it's not
a waste of
possible.
time.
Your claim is that it's plausible.
Yes, because again, there's so
Plausible
many
and
forms of
possible are
conscious.
very, very different.
Plausible and possible, I feel like those are very similar, but like
They're literally not. So it's possible that I will win the lottery. It is not plausible that I will win the lottery. Plausible means likely, right? Possible just means that it's not impossible, to put it bluntly.
okay, well, I feel like it's more plausible than not, because again, like
Then for
like,
that claim you need evidence. You need evidence for plausibility.
It's the fact that we have all the different levels of consciousness now on
Having
this planet,
other
and we
things
cannot
that are
define it.
conscious, having other things that are conscious doesn't therefore make some non-physical entity existing with consciousness plausible.
But at the same time, I feel like at the same time it does, because you cannot define. You have yet to give me an answer, and science has yet to give me an answer of what consciousness stems from, what creates it, what electrical circuit. Because again, we can't even say on
yes, by the way, like science can offer plausible hypotheses for that question.
Exactly, but there's no actual answer, and that's what I'm saying. It's like
Hold
my
on,
answer.
so there are plausible answers offered in like neurophysiology, in neurochemistry, in these kinds of sciences. There are plausible explanations offered for the origins of consciousness, which circuits are necessary, which neurons are necessary, etc. These are like plausible explanations based on data. What you're offering is an explanation that is not, you actually even haven't explained how it's an explanation, but what you're offering is just some thing that is not plausible. At least you haven't explained how it's plausible, because you haven't provided any data to, support it.
Again, I guess my data, you're asking me to like cite some source or cite whatever. I think that it's plausible in the fact that, again, our research on consciousness and the huge array, the spectrum on this planet of plants to animals to human beings, fungi, all of it, the spectrum of which we quantify and calculate and define something as conscious, it is a whole moving spectrum. There is not like one,
and that doesn't mean anything about extra dimensional higher frequency consciousnesses. They're unrelated.
Bro, you're cutting me off, bro. What I'm saying,
I am cutting you off because
I know, which is rude, because I'm trying to finish.
You have a tendency to kind of ramble.
I let you finish. I keep letting you finish, and then you cut me off because you just don't like what I'm saying. My
You have a tendency
is,
to ramble, so like I can't let you keep going forever.
I don't, but whatever. What I'm saying to you is, again, my data, my theory, my evidence to support that is, again, the consciousness that we see on this planet is of a huge, vast spectrum. There is no one metric or one solidified point of, to be conscious, it has to have this and this only, and if it doesn't, then it's not conscious. We don't have that metric or standard. So the fact now that in our observable universe, there is no cutoff point, we have no definitive answer of what the cutoff point is. So why would we assume that it stops at what we can simply observe? That's my argument, is like, we have no definitive cutoff, so I feel like it's ignorant to be like, well, there's nothing, I just can't see it, so it has to stop right there, just because I can't see it, even though we don't have any like solid data points of where it ends. Like, that seems goofy to me, is like, just because you can't see it and can't calculate it yet and don't have the answer doesn't mean that it doesn't keep going. Like, that's like my whole question and like argument with this. Is that like totally off the like rocker? Like, I don't see why that's like so hard to like scratch your chin on, because again, we don't have a metric of what consciousness actually is and where it stops and starts. So like,
just
why
say,
would we?
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I don't want to cut you off.
No, I just that's just the whole point of that. Like, what, we can't say where it stops and starts. So why are we so sure on what stops right here? Because we can't see it, And because I can't see it, I'm not going to do any research on it because that would just be a waste of time. When again, that's kind of, I feel like that's shooting us in the foot.
Okay, so just so you know, that was 3 minutes of not really addressing what I asked.
Okay. You're not really addressing what I asked either, so tit for tat.
Are you brushing your teeth?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Well, I'm not so into that.
Sorry, I have stuff to do here in a second.
It's okay, I'll let you go, but thanks for being here, Mags. Nobody can say that she's not a rambler. Like, look, I know I can ramble. I definitely have the power to ramble. I ramble on the regular. But, like, come on. Like, I'm not the only one here, right? All right, let's read some super chats. By the way, I do appreciate that, like, people were sending super chats about, you know, the big C word about cancer. Like, I appreciate that. I'd rather not, like, talk about it all the time. So, like, if you wouldn't include those in your super chats, that'd be good. Rather focus on the content. Keeps my mind off things. Anyway, I'm gonna read some. From Katie Blue. Katie Bluebird with the $20. I do appreciate that a lot. I appreciate you genuinely. From Zedbout, I do appreciate the kind words. I just don't want to talk about it all the time, so I'm not going to read your whole thing. But I appreciate the $5. From Bobobo with the $20. You're awesome. No, you're awesome. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. From Dwayne Warren with the $10, how do you account for Deuteronomy 12:1 and then Exodus 21-3? Seems to me that it explicitly separating these two sets of laws. On a side note, wish you all the luck in the world with your health. Well, I appreciate that. Look, so I'm just going off of like the Mishnah. The Mishnah explicitly has a very, very important rabbi saying, yeah, don't think that one law is more important than another. And so, you know, there's got to be some reason why that was mentioned, right? From Empiricist with the $2, thank you so much. I love when theist callers commit heresy in public. It is always funny. I do appreciate that, yeah. From Tim Davidson with the $5, you can think it's there, you can test to see if it's there, but don't believe it's there until you can prove it's there. That's what I'm getting at. Like, you can have like a vibe, but that vibe should probably be like based on something. It should provide some sort of explanatory power. It would just be super handy. From Random Potato with the $2, is the caller Deepak Chopra's daughter? Woo woo. Maybe. Probably not. Deepak Chopra, I don't know if any woman would ever touch him. From Go Bing or Go Bingo Bin with the $2, do you believe the universe always existed? Why? I'm pretty agnostic on it. I'm working on a paper, or at least I'm thinking about a paper, kind of working on a paper that at least is going to try to, that will likely rule out one possible way that the universe could have always existed, but it's not the only possible way. So, from Dan O'Connell with the 7 Canuck bucks, she is straight up gibberating and tone policing. Think of the nuance, Blitz. I should have thought of the nuance. I know, I should have thought of the nuance. From Empiricist with the $2, my gal, there's no minimum word count in a debate. That's funny, though. That is funny. One sec. Oh, yeah, sorry. Her argument is the rhetorical equivalent of flinging poop at a wall. I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but it just seems like that she wasn't really addressing what I was getting at. And maybe I wasn't communicating well, which is totally plausible. 100% could be my fault. But like, all I was getting at is that a hypothesis better be able to explain the thing that your observation, that you're confused, or that your mysterious observation was mysterious about. Otherwise, what's the point of the hypothesis? And from L'Oreal Ashley, thank you so much for the $20. When someone says Einstein ran on vibes, it's usually a sign they shouldn't bring up quantum mechanics. That's true. Most people don't really know anything about the history of physics, so From Grimlock with the $5. Unfortunately, humans generally do have one of the most intellectually developed brains on the planet. Also hydration. I did, but I appreciate it. From Bacon and Bush with the $5. Brian Greene, when he's not talking about string theory, is a really good science communicator. He even makes sense of string theory. I just can't buy into it myself. Yeah, I agree 100%. Brian Greene. So I really liked Michio Kaku in the early 2000s, and he actually did really good science in like the 80s and 90s. He developed a lot of supergravity and stuff like that. He seems like he's kind of gone off the deep end a bit. I wouldn't really believe what Michio Kaku talks about these days anymore. I wouldn't really take him seriously. Brian Greene is still an excellent science communicator. He's just really invested in string theory, but he's very good, and he's still active, if I remember correctly. From Grimlock with the $5, I just want one guest to explain how something can have consciousness without electrochemistry in a system like a brain. Well, what about a computer? That's just regular electricity, not chemistry. From Cheese Crust with the $5, hope everything will be okay with your health, Dr. Blitz. I hope so too. All we can do is hope for the best. From Candace with the $5, I observed that the ball of light traverses the sky and warms my body. My hypothesis is that it is a ball of fire, extremely hot. Tests are suggested. Yeah, that's a great hypothesis. From Vikanuke with the 14 Canuck bucks, when trying to sound like the smartest person in the room, ironically makes Snooki sound like frickin' Einstein. It might be time to take a bit of a personal inventory, hoping the best for all of you. I appreciate that. Well, let's not be rude here. All I'm saying is that, like, if it doesn't stand up to like the way that we do science, don't call it a hypothesis, right? From Bacon and Bush with the $20. Oh, and for yesterday's Ask a Physicist that I missed. I'm sorry that you missed it, Bacon and Bush. We'll do another next week. We'll do 2 more next week, actually. From, by the way, there are a few super chats, but we will get back to guests, I promise, so please be patient. Because there was a long conversation, so they built up over time, you know. From Dan O'Connell with the 7 Canuck bucks, her stupid thing is way more believable than Russell's teapot. That was my issue, right? Like, it seems like they're both equally ludicrous. From Simeon Urchin with the $10, don't we have some evidence that there aren't coiled dimensions making up space? Like having to do with measuring if gravitational waves lost energy over vast distances from the dimensions? Yeah, so there's some evidence that it like basically put an upper bound on the size of these dimensions and how like strongly they couple with other things. But we don't like, it's very hard to give evidence against them, like definitive evidence against them, because you can always make them smaller. Similarly, you can always make supersymmetric particles more massive. And from Hoodie with the $5, my dog intuitively knows real analysis. He just can't tell me because he's thinking on a higher wavelength. Oh, well, there you go. From Dan O'Connell with the, what is that? $2.79. I'll take $10 worth of what she's smoking. You guys are mean. From Dan O'Connell again with the $2.79. Please, Blitz, this is starting to hurt. Look, we gotta let it come out. We gotta let it play out, okay? From Matt Doherty with the $10, just finished Being You by Anil Seth. A good place to start if you want to actually learn where neuroscience thinks consciousness stems from. That's cool. I'm probably not going to read it because it's not particularly interesting to me, but I appreciate the recommendation. From Sans Deity with the $50, don't just replace the A key, get a new keyboard. Okay, so by the way, there's currently the leaf blower, as always, every single Thursday outside my window. Look, there's a reason I keep this keyboard, and the reason why I don't want to replace the keyboard. I was at a Micro Center like a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. I really like this keyboard. I really like the Logitech G910, and I don't know if they still make it. So that's the current issue. Maybe I'll replace it. But it's just an A key. It feels like replacing an entire keyboard for just a single key is a little bit mistaken. And from Devil's PD with the 20 Dr. Blitz Debunks gift memberships. That is enormous, which I really appreciate, and I'm sure everybody who got one will appreciate it as well. You guys now have access to all of my debate notes, which are, no, that's Matt Doherty, not Matt Dillahunty. So if you got a gift membership, which you can also just buy, it's like $4 or $5 a month, and it helps support me. What you now have access to is you have access to my debate notes, which I use in all of these conversations. Let me show you let me just give you a glimpse. So here's what the debate notes look like. Let me make this full screen so that there's nothing super visible, but here's what the debate notes look like, right? So There's stuff on flat Earth. There's stuff on a lot of different topics. And you can just look through them. I update it on the regular. I haven't updated in a few weeks because of the health issues, obviously, you know, with all that stuff. But like, these are things that, you know, could be useful if you're debating theism or the shape of the Earth or any of that stuff. So consider it. And you also get access to emojis, which is fun. From Issa Secular with the €6, you have to watch the last guest on Ian's live yesterday. Epic butt stuff. That was a wild ride. Keep up the good work. I listened to it live. From Joshua Everett with the $5. I don't see any ninjas in the room with me, but that's just a sign that they're really talented ninjas, right? That's exactly what it is. They're just hiding. From Oren Pucht with the $5. She has 250,000 followers. I bet she always rambles. Be well, brother. She does have a lot of followers. That's crazy. I didn't know that. We have a few more super chats to go through and then we'll call it there. From Eat Some Shorts, sending another 20 Dr. Blitz Debunks gift memberships, which is enormous. Thank you so much, Eat Some Shorts. And for everybody who received them, I hope you guys send some big W's, because a lot of people just got some memberships. From Might You Find It Interesting with the $5, it just bugs me when they say scientific research is a general waste of time, but they want us to look for made up things. Well, yeah. I mean, look, it is true. Most science ends up not being useful, but you can't figure out what's going to be useful until you do the science, right? From Tim Davidson with the $5, if you don't believe in magic, I give you the computer. We send lightning through some crystals to get information from far away. Magic. It feels like magic, but it's not. From Curtis Martin with the $5, I just want to say you look beautiful today. Do I? That's so sweet. And from Monkey Bitness with the $15, you guys are being so generous. Country gal in a crazy world. She's going to turn the field of science on its head. You've seen Legally Blonde, but you're not ready for Scientifically Blonde. I would watch the crap out of that movie. That'd be so good. I love Legally Blonde. And from Goobsbra with the $5, am I mistaken or did she start out semi-skeptical and move to full-on believing? She kind of did. And last super chat before we continue, from Reverend Nate with the 2 Canuck bucks, your keyboard is anti-Canadian. Save the A keys. It's funny. I appreciate that. All right, let us bring up our next guest. Let's talk to Jesus Loves You. Jesus Loves You, how's it going?
Hi, I got 3 main debates, like why I'm convinced that God is real. So I can't hear you.
Sorry, I was talking to my wife. What's up?
I got 3 main debates why I believe that God is real.
Okay, give me just 1 sec, okay? I just got to write something down for you. Okay, your name is Jesus Loves You. I just try to write down the people that I talk to.
Oh yeah, okay.
Okay, so you have 3 main points why you think that God is real. So, all right, let's start with the best one.
I think.
By the way, I just want to confirm. How old are you?
I'm 19.
Okay, great.
The best one would be probably that before, like, we have evidence that the universe has a beginning, right? Like the Big Bang.
Oh, I don't know if that's true.
Well, there is evidence of the Big Bang at least, and like.
I agree, but
yeah.
What does that have to do with the beginning?
Because the Big Bang must have a cause, right? Everything with a beginning must have a cause. So the Big Bang.
Who says that the Big
beginning.
Bang is? So maybe we just are talking past each other. What do you mean? What do you understand the Big Bang to be?
Well, molecules and atoms that come together and then just make a bang and then create planets, for example.
It's not really right. The Big Bang is a description of the early universe. The early universe was very, very hot, like 13.8 billion years ago. The universe was very, very hot, very, very dense, and it, for reasons that we can speculate about, it expanded. That's what the Big Bang is.
Okay, let me ask you this. Do you believe that the universe has a beginning, or do you believe it to be eternal?
I'm agnostic on the issue.
I
could go either way.
Are you agnostic about the issue about God?
No.
No, okay. Okay, well, then, okay, so I at least thought that the Big Bang, everything with the beginning must have a cause, and then it kind of comes into my second argument. There's so much order and design of this universe that point to intelligent designer. For example,
why does the cause of the Big Bang, the cause of, say, the expansion of the hot dense state, have to be an intelligent designer?
Yeah, exactly. I know, and I understand the argument.
Don't say yeah, exactly. Answer the question.
I mean, I just want to say that, like, I understand that the point you could say, well, nature caused this, but if you, for example, go out to Mount Rushmore, right, and you look at all the presidents' heads, and someone told you, well, no, nature just made this. All these presidents' heads just formed over this time, and nature just made these heads naturally. I would think that's illogical because there's so much order and design to the heads.
That's
Same way
great,
being,
but the Big Bang does not share similarity to like humans as Mount Rushmore does.
okay, well let's go past that argument. Say what's it called, when you look at the universe, how there's so much order and design, right?
Okay, so to be clear, your best argument was taken apart merely by asking, how do you know it's an intelligent creator?
No. I meant everything with the beginning must have a cause, and when you look at the cause,
well, so how do you know that the universe had a beginning?
The Big Bang.
The Big Bang isn't understood as the beginning of the universe.
And what is it understood of?
It's understood as a hot, dense state that the universe was in 13.8 billion years ago that began to expand. So you can say that the Big Bang is the beginning of the expansion, but it's not the beginning of the universe necessarily. Oh, he ran. I actually don't think he ran. I think that he probably left because I heard a sound, and then maybe he'll come back and we can finish the conversation. Let us just quickly read one of the super chats that we got. We got a £10 donation from the last judge. I appreciate that so much, guy. Very generous of you. Also, and I should make sure that I read this because otherwise I will forget. Oh, that reminds me, I have to cancel my, we got a super chat, not a super chat, sorry, a cash app from Shay earlier today, and it's very much appreciated. So thank you so much, Shay, as always. Okay, let's bring up our next guest. Let's talk to Alec.
Hello?
Alec, how's it going?
Good.
Glad to hear it. Alec, do you believe in a god?
Yeah, I think there's no other justification on how there can be a god without human life or any life at all.
Can you, maybe I don't understand. There's no other justification for how there can be a god without human life? I don't understand.
I think that what I'm going to prove to you is not going to necessarily prove to you because of how I watched you with the other lady. In terms of what you're believing in, is until you can physically prove it to me that something exists, I'm not going to believe you.
Well, no, I mean, if you provide some sort of evidence, that would be good too.
So
you don't have to provide proof. Evidence would be sufficient.
The way that I see it is there's no way for us to exist without a god. And the reason why is we have constant forces like gravity, speed of light. Anything that was different, there could be no existence of us. And those are like
why do you think that?
Those are set numbers that were set before the existence of the Big Bang, or in terms of the universe, because the Big Bang relied on those specific numbers that were set on by something else that we call God before those things could expand, before the expansion of the universe.
Hold on, we have to back up a little bit. It's just like it's objectively false that like if the gravitational constant were like say 1% stronger or 1% weaker, that humans wouldn't exist. That's just false. There's no reason to think that that's the case.
I'm just saying everything would be different.
So you're telling me that if things were different, things would be different? Because then you're not telling me anything surprising.
What I'm saying is like if the speed of light was different, everything else would be different. Like
yes, if things were different, things would be different.
Like, can we agree that gravity is a set number?
It's not a number. It's a force.
Well, yeah, but it's like there's a specific number of force that we measure gravity.
There is gravity has a certain strength that depends on a particular constant, sure.
But the Big Bang itself relied on that specific force.
Not really.
Exist.
I don't see why that would be the case.
So how can the Big Bang happen in the first place?
Sorry, one sec. I'm gonna shut the. Go ahead.
I think the best way for me to explain it to you is you have a computer,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have a coder, and then you have a
Mm-hmm.
video game. We're
Sure.
the video game. The coder is the forces that that the Big Bang relied on, and the computer is God. In order to
No, I think you're getting it backwards. I think you're doing the argument backwards. You want the coder to be God, the computer to be the universe, and us to be the game or something like that.
It can go both ways, but what I'm trying to say
You don't
is
want the computer to be God because then God doesn't have a mind.
well, what I'm trying to say is, in order for the Big Bang to expand, it relied on forces that you can't even create in the first place. And even
So,
if those
hold on, can you demonstrate that that's true?
the Big Bang relied on the forces of gravity, and different particles and whatever being attracted to different others.
We don't
to
know what
create-
caused the Big Bang, to be clear. So
Yeah,
to
I know
say
this.
anything like it relied on the forces of gravity and like the particles and stuff, like
Did
I
it
don't think
not?
that you could support that at all. No. I don't think that you
How
could
did
support that
it not
claim.
rely on
Because
gravity? or
we have
speed?
no idea what caused it.
No, I'm not talking about what caused it. I'm just talking about once the Big Bang happened, it
Those,
relied on.
once the Big Bang
all
happened, those things
sorts of
already
things.
existed. The Big Bang
Wait,
was
what?
done. Once the expansion started, it was done.
Well, it's a cycle that, like, not a cycle, but it's like how do you explain, like it's on the tip of my tongue, but it's like a thing that just happened, like it goes. I don't know. It's on the tip of my tongue. I don't know how to say it. Let's say the time is 0, and someone
Mhm.
something snaps their finger, and the Big Bang starts. Right? We're putting in perspective that the Big Bang happened, and
The
we're-
expansion begins.
Yeah,
and now it
okay,
just
that's
goes.
kind of the expansion begins, right?
Let's say the expansion begins at t equals 0.
In order for the expansion to begin, it had to rely on some sort of mechanics for that to begin with,
Sure.
right? Because that's from the very beginning of time itself to now.
Well, we don't know if that was the beginning of time, but
I know, but I'm just talking about, like, in terms of when the Big Bang happened, 13.8 billion years ago,
sure.
right? From 13.8 billion years ago to now, it relied
Mm-hmm.
on those invisible forces to exist. Now tell me,
What
how
relied
is
on
it
those invisible
possible-
forces to exist?
Huh?
What relied on those invisible forces to exist?
Everything, all of matter in existence relied.
Yeah, so
on
yeah,
bouncing
there are
off-
forces, and if those forces weren't there, then the universe would be different. Absolutely.
Exactly, that's what I'm trying to get at this entire time.
Yeah,
what I'm
if
trying
the
to
world
say
was
is,
different, the world would be different.
no, but in order for the Big Bang to happen in the first place, there
Well, that we
had
don't
to have
know.
been those
We don't know what made this happen. We don't know how the Big
I'm not
Bang
trying
happened in the
to-
first
I'm not
place.
trying to argue towards that. What I'm trying to argue towards that, what I'm trying to argue at is those forces that literally the Big Bang relied on was created by something that we have, like, no proof. You can't argue if it existed or not. What I'm saying is something had to have created those forces that the Big Bang relied on in order to create itself in the first place.
Look, so whatever caused the Big Bang, you're right. We don't fully understand it right now. Like one can speculate, one can talk about like inflation and things like this, but we just don't know. I don't see how that means that there's a God.
Because those forces you can't create those forces. Those are just set numbers. Those are like the code to the video game. Those, you can't have a video game
So
without the
I
code
might
to
agree with you. Suppose that you can't create those forces, then it would seem like they would have always existed.
That's what. But how would the exactly? So that's why I was relating to God being the computer, and then the forces being the code, and then us being the game, because the code itself is what determined the game itself, which is us, which is the expansion of the universe.
So do you agree that like the universe could have just always existed before the Big Bang?
I think it's possible. If God exists, I think the universe could. I've never thought about it that way, but that's one my point. We can keep on going about that. But the other one that I want.
That's important, right? Because if the universe has always existed, then there's not really like a moment in time when God created the universe, right?
I that's interesting to think of. I never thought about it like that, or thought about that area, because that's kind of like that could be defeated on if the universe had no existence or has no time, then how could God have no time, right? Because the whole thing is God has existed forever, right? That's the whole belief. And so then also technically the universe could have existed forever. So that's one of my main points, which is there's forces that we have like that the expansion of the Big Bang, like the expansion of the universe or the Big Bang relied on in order to create everything that we have today. Another point
again, if
is our
things
own
were
free
different,
will.
then they would be different. Go
I'm
ahead,
not talking
continue.
about, no, I'm not, okay, I'm not talking about changing the force of gravity. I'm just talking about the gravity itself. The
Yeah,
existence
if the gravity
of
wasn't
gravity.
if gravity wasn't there, then things would be different.
Yeah, then we wouldn't exist.
Okay.
Do you not see what I'm getting at?
If I mean, like, it's not clear that gravity can just not exist. So
So what I'm saying is something had to have created gravity before the Big Bang.
that's not
in
clear.
order to
Gravity
create
could have
the Big
always
Bang.
existed.
So then how could have gravity always existed for the Big Bang to rely on it?
Well, gravity could have predated the Big Bang.
I don't think you're seeing what I'm getting at.
No,
Okay,
I don't.
let's go to a different point.
Sure, do it.
I don't think you're getting what I'm getting at, but let's talk about how we have all free will.
I don't think that we do have free will.
So
At least not in the libertarian sense.
how do we not have free will? Am I talking to you?
Yeah.
So
But I think that the reason you're talking to me is a result of internal and external factors.
so technically we're all chemical reactions.
Yes.
So you believe everything that we're doing today is predictable and technically predictable, and we are
Not
just a bunch
necessarily.
of electrical
There are-
and chemical reactions. This live stream that you're doing
There
is
are
just a
physical
chemical
things
reaction.
that are completely determined, but yet are not predictable.
So the thing that I call us having a soul,
Hmm.
you think that's not existence because
Yeah, I don't
it's
think that souls exist.
okay. Well, I don't see how you can see that because, I mean, we all have our own personalities. I don't think that you can. I mean,
Yeah,
what is the point of anything? If anything, it's just
What is the
chemical reaction.
point of anything?
What
Look, I
is
mean,
the
we have
point?
we have different personalities because we have different brains. We have different
Yeah, but,
experiences,
like,
we have
we
different
all
memories,
have
etc.
free will. Us,
You
like,
keep saying
us
that.
talking to,
You keep saying that. That's not going to make it more true.
us talking to each other right now.
Mhm.
We have like, if we were chemical reactions, like a chemical, like, I don't think you see what I'm getting at. We all are able.
I just
to,
think that you've probably never talked with somebody who doesn't think that free will exists.
Yeah, how do you even think that we don't have free will? Like, you think that we're just a chemical reaction? Because that's just crazy to me.
Hmm.
How do you think
Yeah.
that we?
How? Well, look,
How
I mean,
do
like,
you-
at the end of the day, it seems like, at the end of the day is night, it seems like that we can always just come up with an explanation, some sort of physical explanation located in the brain for our decisions, right? Like, you can just put someone in an fMRI machine, and then you can ask them questions, or ask them to do tasks, or ask them to make decisions, and you'll see different parts of the brain light up.
Yeah, but that's just how our physical body works. But how do you?
So do you
explain-
think that there is some additional factor that is influencing the brain, some non-physical
Yeah,
thing that is causing
which is what we
the
call a
brain to
soul.
behave in a non-physical way?
Yeah, which is what we call
Okay,
a soul. which is
so
a-
so you understand that you're making an extremely strong claim here that there are things that happen in the brain that have no physical cause.
Yeah, which is why I'm saying that there's external forces like that caused the Big Bang, that the Big Bang relied on.
Right. So
in
you're
order
not just asserting like a single miracle that like the Big Bang was like a miracle. You're asserting that literally every single time anybody makes any decision that the laws of physics are being violated. That's an enormously large claim.
How can so what you're saying is it can go both ways because what you're saying is that every single thing was a coincidence, that all
Nope,
of existence
doesn't
of
follow.
humanity. How? Because you just said that everything is a chemical reaction. So
Yeah,
everything that
things
we've
being
done,
chemical reactions don't imply that things are coincidences.
So everything that has to do with the existence of Earth is pre-programmed in a way.
Well, if you want to say that it's pre-programmed because like the universe is deterministic, that doesn't follow from free will not existing. You can believe that the universe has some aspect of randomness to it without having free will. I take a sort of mixed view. I think that probably I take it that our configuration on Earth was bound to happen in at least one world. That it was this world, we got lucky. Or perhaps it's anthropically the case that it was going to be this world, because if it wasn't this world, then we wouldn't be here to talk about it.
So your whole thing is, until I can physically prove it to you that, you know, we have a soul, which is technically not possible.
Oh, no, it would be possible. Here, the claim that you're making would make it absolutely possible, because your claim is that, put bluntly, that there are things that happen in the brain, like think of molecules moving, that have no cause for their motion. So that would be 100% possible to prove. You would just go into the brain, look at it with a microscope, and if you see a particle just spontaneously move with no physical cause, then there you go, you've proved the soul exists.
But that, you don't understand what I'm saying. Like, we all have, I don't know how to explain it to you, because you're going so far from 180 and just saying, until you can prove it to me, like the absence of us not moving. How do I explain this? I've never talked to, you're right, I've never talked to someone that just goes straight up and says we're a chemical reaction. Everything that you have done and will do is pre-programmed and will happen. Like every single murder, or I don't know, I don't think I can say that on here, but every single, like, anything bad or anything, it's just pre-programmed. It's just what happens is what happens. If a school gets, you know what, that's just what's gonna happen. Don't stress about it.
Well, I mean, you can stress about it. Like, why?
You can, but it's like what you're saying is just like, it's just irrelevant. Not
what do you mean
irrelevant,
irrelevant?
Not irrelevant, but like, I don't know how to like. What I'm trying to say is, there is no way for us to exist right now without either those forces in the beginning to exist, pre-programming the expansion of the Big Bang or the universe, and then also us having a free will. Like, I can control everything that I'm doing. Okay, let's go on this another way. How do you explain, or what's your hypothesis on how life was created in the first place?
I don't have one. Let's say I don't have one.
So you don't. So
I'm not a chemist. So
we're a chemical reaction right now. Were we created by chemicals in the first place?
It seems like it's plausible. Yeah.
Okay. I don't see how you can believe.
I mean, what's your explanation for how life came in the first place?
God created us.
Yeah, but how?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I mean, neither of us know how in either of our worldviews. So.
That's kind of, I never thought about it that way. That's a good point of saying, but I don't see how you can still think that we're just a chemical reaction. Everything is predictable. Everything is, you know,
just because we are just a chemical reaction doesn't mean that everything is predictable.
In a sense, it's predictable.
No, not necessarily.
I mean, if you can look at every single molecule and see where it's going to go and how it's going to react.
But you can't. Like that. Like, just because you know the fundamental laws of physics doesn't mean that you can predict the outcome of any configuration.
I mean, theoretically, it is possible, though.
No, it's not.
How is it not possible?
You'd have to look into like Turing complete systems and the halting problem.
So then, doesn't that just contradict everything that you just said about us being a chemical reaction?
No, us being a chemical reaction is unrelated to whether or not you can predict the outcomes of those chemical reactions in every single case.
So you believe, how do you believe that some things are random and then also some things
I didn't say anything about random.
Earlier did.
I did. That's true. But like this point that I'm making has nothing to do with randomness.
So at the end of the day, you believe that we are just chemical reactions.
Yep.
And that the universe has always existed. That's just crazy.
Well, I'm pretty agnostic about whether or not the universe has always existed.
Not the universe existed, but those forces that the universe relied on.
Well, I'm agnostic about whether or not those things have always existed. I'm waiting till we have better evidence to come to a conclusion about that.
I don't think we can ever get better evidence.
We absolutely can. That's what scientists do.
How do you think we can go beyond the fact of? So do you think that we can go past in time?
No, I don't think time travel is possible.
In the future?
At least not without going the long way around. No, not even in the future.
How do you think we can't go in the future?
I think that time travel would require a special kind of matter that we have good reason to think doesn't exist.
But if we travel fast enough, and if we travel in the same direction.
I'm sorry, I
fast
misunderstood. Yes, we could absolutely travel to the future.
Yeah.
I don't think that we can travel to the past.
Yeah.
Even
Because
using
what my
future
whole-
even using future technology. That was my misunderstanding. My bad.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because if we are able to go in the past, we're also taking every single molecule that's existed in the past, and we're pretty much rewriting all of history, and we pretty much are our own god at that point.
Well, I don't know if I would say that, but there are some serious problems that come with
We're playing
past time
God.
travel.
We're playing God if we were able to go in the past.
Maybe. But how is this related to what you were asking about?
So you're still able to think that we're chemical reactions at the end of the day. I think that's just where I disagree. I don't think there's any possibility that we're chemical reactions. And the way that you think is that until I can physically prove it to you, or there's like, you don't think that there's any way, shape, or form that we can have a soul or a free will.
Well, it doesn't seem likely to me. I mean, and look, there's good reason to think that like we are our brains, right? And our brains are chemicals. I mean, consider this. There's a really famous example of a guy from the 1800s. His name was Phineas Gage. He was a really lovely guy, really nice guy, very timid, kind, and like not quick to anger. And he was a railroad worker. And at some point, while he was working on the railroad, there was an explosion, and it shot a railroad spike through his head. And miraculously, he survived. Like this is like crazy that this happened, but there was just like a 2-inch thick railroad spike, just like all the way through his head. And he survived. But what happened is that his personality changed. It changed dramatically. He became very quick to anger. He became very irritable. He became unpleasant to be around. And so if it were the case that we had souls, and the souls were what kind of determined our personalities and things like this, one would think that damaging the brain wouldn't be the kind of thing that would cause a change in your personality. On the other hand, if we were merely chemical reactions, or as a result, or with our personalities resulting from the structures and the arrangements of our brain, then it would absolutely make sense that if you completely change the way his brain is by, like, you know, obliterating a big chunk of it, that his personality would change. So it seems to me that and you know, we have plenty of examples of these where like somebody will get a partial lobotomy and their personality will change. Someone will have some sort of brain damage and their personality will change. Like this is super common.
That's just destruction of your physical body.
Right, but if it was the case that your personality was controlled by your soul, which is some non-physical thing, then it doesn't seem like it would be the case that damaging the brain would change your personality.
Your personality is shaped on your experiences in your past. So
then why would damaging your brain change that?
If your personality was determined on your soul, I mean, that would pretty much just disprove everything that I just said, because then everything is just technically a chemical reaction in the sense that we have souls, because all our personalities are pre-programmed to what we believe in. Is it not?
You brought up the personality thing.
You just said.
You brought up the personality thing yourself.
I brought it. That was completely different than having.
When we were talking about free will and souls,
what
you
I'm
brought
saying,
up the whole personality
that was
thing.
Completely different in the very beginning. What I'm saying is we have free will. Free will controls everything that we do. When I'm living.
Okay, so then I can give you other examples of medical cases how we know that at least like there's at least chemical influence in our decision making, because there's a really famous experiment. I don't remember when it's from, and I should probably pull it up at some point. But there's a really famous experiment where basically they were asking people to make decisions, and before the person was consciously aware of the decision, they could detect brain activity. Which means that in some sense, at least this is one of the inferences that you can draw from it, is that the brain activity is what caused the decision, rather than the decision causing the brain activity, because the brain activity happened first. That's at least that's at least evidence that these kinds of decision-making processes are caused by brain activity rather than by some kind of more ethereal mind or soul.
I don't see how that ties into. Because if I were to shoot someone and it hits their head in their brain, and they become paralyzed. That is proof to you that that our soul doesn't exist.
No, I was giving you a
Because that's
different
chemical
example.
reaction.
I was giving you a different example because you didn't like the Phineas Gage example. The example that I was
No,
giving was
I
of
think
a study.
it's a really good point to look at. It's a really good perspective.
Okay,
to
but
look at.
but I just brought up a different thing, and then you went back to the old thing.
I was because you got like you went down a whole different path. What I'm thinking about is I don't think that has anything to do with, like, obviously if your brain gets damaged, that's going to change how you are. I mean, that's just like how it is. I mean, if you get in a car accident,
Why does the brain light up before we're aware of having made a decision?
Wait, say that again?
Why does the brain light up? Why do the chemical reactions happen in the brain before we make the decision?
I don't know.
Well, it seems like that if our brain is chemistry, which it is, of course it is, it's chemistry and biology. If our brain is chemistry and our brain lights up, meaning that like our brain is doing chemical stuff before we're even aware that a decision has been made, it seems like that brain activity is the cause, or at least is one of the causes of that decision being made, rather than something metaphysical.
I think where you draw the line is believing that we don't have free will in the beginning to begin with.
This is kind of evidence of that, though, right?
That's where I draw the line, which is we all have free will. I have a choice to do something. I'm sorry, if it's just a chemical reaction, what is the point of anything? I mean,
it seems, look, I understand that this is like, okay, let me back up. If it's true that we don't have free will, I can understand that would be disturbing for a lot of people. But it being disturbing for people, it being very like concerning, doesn't make it less true.
I think in my perspective, I think our soul is initiating our brain activity.
Can I show you something?
Yeah.
This is a study from 2019. It was published in Nature, which is a really, really, really prestigious journal.
The quality's kind of...
Okay, I can make it bigger.
Yeah. That's really big. It's fine. You can just read, or I want to...
Or you know what? Let me see if I can just download it.
I think it's
yeah, okay, I can just download it and then I can make it bigger. That's fine. That's probably better.
Yeah,
okay, so this paper came out in 2019. It's called Decoding the Contents and Strength of Imagery Before Volitional Engagement. So let's just read the first few sentences of the abstract. Is it possible to predict the freely chosen content of voluntary imagery from prior neural signals? Here, we show that the content and strength of future voluntary imagery can be decoded from activity patterns in visual and frontal areas well before participants engage in voluntary imagery. Participants freely chose which of two images to imagine. Using functional magnetic resonance and multivoxel pattern analysis, we decoded imagery content as far as 11 seconds before the voluntary decision in visual, frontal, and subcortical areas. Decoding in visual areas, in addition to perception imagery, a generalization suggests that predictive patterns correspond to visual representations. Importantly, activity pattern in the primary visual cortex from before the decision predicted future imagery vividness. Our results suggest that the contents and strength of mental imagery are influenced by sensory-like neural representations that emerge spontaneously before volition. So what this is talking about is they run an experiment where they ask somebody to choose to think of one of two different images. And then before the person makes the decision, they're able to figure out which decision they're going to make based off of what's going on in their brain. It seems like what they're describing is there's stuff that's happening in the brain that determines your decision.
Well, obviously, I mean, when we release dopamine...
So where is the free will?
How do you not see... When we want to control, like move our hand or anything, that's free will. I mean, when I want to go walk somewhere, that's free will.
Okay, so...
There's nothing in my brain that is telling me I have to do it. There's something telling my brain
Was there something in the brain of these people telling them that they had to choose one of the two images?
Which is probably their thoughts, which is controlled by their soul.
Right, except they were able to predict it happened in their brain before they even made a decision. They were able to predict which one they were going to pick based off of what their brain was doing. Oh, where'd he go? When you're off the app, I can't hear you, by the way.
It was my alarm. It went off.
You're fine.
All right, can you?
Yeah, so my point is that somehow they're able to predict their choices based off of their brain. And if you can predict someone's free will, quote unquote free will, based off of a brain scan, it doesn't sound like they have free will.
So our conversation that we're having right now is not based on free will.
No,
It's
I
just
don't.
based on
I don't think so.
reactions.
I would take the view that
I
it is based
disagree
off
with
of the experiences and the, arrangements of chemicals in our brain. Yeah.
So, do you think when we die, it's just black?
Yeah, I think that there's nothing after. I think that this is. I think this is what we get, and that's it.
So, I'm not trying to be like, this is scary to think about. Why don't we all just nuke each other and just take everyone out?
Why would we? This is all we have. Why would we nuke? Why would we not want to preserve
What do we
it?
have to lose?
Well, the current life. If this is all we
but
have,
if there is no life after death,
right, exactly. The thing that we have to lose is the life. If there's nothing afterwards, then we're losing the only thing we have.
yeah, but
If there is life, look, I can flip this around on you. If there is life after death, we're not losing anything if we die.
wait, say that again.
If there is life after death, then there's nothing to lose if we die in the physical world.
Well, then that ties into religion and
Yeah,
stuff
so
like
why
that.
don't we just nuke each other if there's life after death?
Because we believe in religion, and we have to be good to one another, and we have principles, which ties into
But why?
Christianity.
I mean, if there's life after death, why does it matter? You can just
Well, because there's
nuke
rules
each
in
other and then we'll live on
Christianity
forever.
and- huh?
You can just nuke. We can just nuke each other, and then right before the nuke goes off, we can say 7
that's
Our
not how it works,
Fathers.
and
We
you
can
know that.
accept Jesus, and then we go to heaven and live forever in happiness.
But that's not how it works, and you know that.
Pretty sure that is how it works.
I mean, that isn't.
All you have to do is put your faith in Jesus, right, and you go to heaven.
I don't think that's just how it works. I mean, I think there's pretty strict laws on going into heaven. I think there's a pretty strict border on.
So do
who
you
can
get to
come
heaven
in.
by works or by
Do you think
works
that
or by faith?
So based on what you just said, do you think that Hitler could have possibly gone to heaven just by accepting
Under
Jesus
Christianity,
as
yeah, that's true.
well? Okay, I don't think so, but
Okay,
I'm not
I mean,
really-
that's fair.
I'm not-
I'm glad that you think that Hitler didn't go to heaven. Look, we should probably call it there because we're kind of jumping all over the place. Is there anything that you want to say before I let you go?
I like how you debate. Is there any particular? Because I've been watching you for like a few weeks now. Like with the whole flat Earth and everything.
Yeah.
Even though we disagree, my whole thing is I just don't see there's any possible way of life existing without a God, and
I get
we
that.
have free will, and there's specific laws in physics that the Big Bang relied on in the first place in order to start the Big Bang the Big Bang relied on invisible forces to bang in the first place, and you see it as those forces could have existed essentially internally forever.
So,
but
any final words? Not
Yeah,
recaps, but final words.
in terms of like how you debate or like how you like this whole conversation, are there any like books that you read in particular?
No, I've just been doing this for a while.
Oh,
It's an experience thing. And
All right.
probably I also spent a few years teaching at university, so like I also have some experience there. But Alec, thank you so much for being here. I do appreciate it, and have a good one, okay?
are you too?
Nice kid. I think a little misguided, and I think that like the free will conversation is hard for people who haven't thought about it before. Let us read some super chats, and then we'll bring up our next guest. From Dan O'Connell with the 7 Canuck bucks, he listened to the other woo-woo caller and said, "Hold my beer." I don't think that he was as hold my beer as Max was. From Kevin Capizzi with the $5, what's more believable, a primordial universe or a magical being? Or a magical being that somehow has the power to create the universe and then does? Why the extra step? It is a good question. Yeah, it is, I mean, it's just a good question. Like, why believe the extra stuff? From Kay with the 5 Canuck bucks, being an atheist is usually better than being religious. It's more honest. I am religious, by the way. Appreciate your voice of reason, Dr. Blitz. Well, I appreciate you too. From Branda's Metal with the $2, you just broke this poor man's brain. I didn't try to. It just happens sometimes. From Discordant Rhymes with the 7 Canuck bucks, I've literally never read anyone else's thoughts on the matter, therefore God. Alec, probably. A lot of people don't read. I mean, in full admission here, I don't really read philosophy. I read it like very occasionally. I read some philosophy, And I don't really read fiction either. The stuff that I read when I do read is almost exclusively physics and mathematics literature, because that's like what I am most interested in. And when I'm not doing work related things, like research related things, I just don't want to spend my time reading. So like, I'm not going to shame him for that. From Furtive Patal with the $5, at the point where guests projects their panic over their mortal insignificance. Yep, that's true. Yeah, look, okay. I say this as someone who has thought about his own mortality a lot in the last month. Like a lot more than I ever thought I would at 32. It can be scary. I get it. Absolutely scary, especially if you had thoughts that like, especially if you had thoughts that there would be something afterwards, and then somebody trying to tell you that there isn't reason to think so, right? Now, I didn't have those thoughts to begin with, so I'm not so worried. But like, I can understand the panic. From Dan O'Connell with the 7 Canuck bucks. So Marty in Back to the Future is God? Well, he's playing God, don't you know? From Dan O'Connell, from Dan O'Connell again with the 7 Canuck bucks. Marty, Doc Brown, and Einstein the dog. Marty, Doc Brown, and Einstein the dog are the Holy Trinity. Indeed, they are. From L'Oreal Ashley with the $10. Damage different brain areas and personality changes. Memories too. Simply put, no soul. At least no personality controlling soul, right? From Skeet Sayer with the 5 Canuck bucks. God is real. He has directly affected my life in ways that would seem coincidence. Then how do you know it's not coincidence? From Empiricist with the $5, the soul does cause non-physical changes in the human brain. That's why the machines in the Matrix use them for power generation. Oh, it makes sense. How didn't I? That's why. From Kelly Share with the $10, what about Photo when the Lord hardened his heart? What? I'm so confused, but I appreciate it, Kelly. I feel like I'm missing the joke. From Floornob with the $5. What are your thoughts on people speaking a new language after comatose? I feel like it is similar to the railroad spike incident. I have no idea. That seems crazy. Oh, Pharaoh. What about Pharaoh when the Lord hardened his heart? Yeah, what about that? What about that? That's a good question. From Skeet again with the 5 Canuck bucks. I want to agree with the presenter until Webb proved that space is in motion. The amoeba that is Earth is not even a grain of sand in our galaxy. What? And from Kelly again with the $10. Don't panic now, child. Grow set. Toughen up. We need your mind. Go to school and contribute to a better world. Yeah, that's what you should do. That's what you should do. From Frozen Plays Games. Again, you don't need to send super chats about the cancer. Like, you really don't need to. Sorry for your cancer, bro. Also, we get diseases, so that makes no free will. Well, diseases and free will are compatible, right? Like, but you don't have to send super chats about that stuff. It just making me read it when I don't want to. Don't appreciate. All right, let's bring up some people from Discord who have been very patiently waiting. Let us bring up, I don't know why. Let's bring up this person, Jay. I don't know why it's not showing me the full name. Oh, it's doing that thing. Jay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I hear you. You can just call me Q.
Oh, wait. I'm not hearing you through the right place. One sec.
No problem.
I'm hearing you through... Okay. And I don't think that anybody else can hear you. Give me just one moment, okay?
Hey, no problem. Take your time.
Oh, okay. No, never mind. Your audio's good. Your audio's a little low. I'll turn you up really quick, though. So what did you say you wanted me to call you?
I'm sorry. I was raised Roman Catholic, and
well, but what did you want me to call you? What name did you prefer?
Q. Just the letter Q.
Q? Okay. I have a friend that I call Q. All right, Q. Small world, right? So Q, you believe in God. You said you were raised Roman Catholic. Why should I think that the God that you believe in is real?
Well, my first problem is the fact that you look for evidence. Mm-hmm. God himself does not want evidence of his existence. He wants you to choose to follow him. If he could come down and prove his existence wholeheartedly, then you wouldn't be choosing to follow him. You'd just be believing because you had to.
I think that's mistaken. I think that that's just bad reasoning, right? So let's say that I'm at the grocery store, right? And I'm trying to watch my weight, for example. not true about me, but let's just give it an example. But I've only
I can follow
ever
hypotheticals, yes, sir.
yeah. I've only ever heard of, I don't know, Hungry Man frozen dinners. It's the only food I've ever heard of. I grew up on them.
Okay.
It's the only food I've ever heard of. And I also happen to be blind, by the way. Just add that in. So I go to the grocery store,
Okay.
and I ask about, hey, where do you keep your Hungry Man? Hungry Man has a lot of calories. It's kind of high calorie food. I'm like, where do you keep the Hungry Man? And then they tell me where I keep the Hungry Man. And now I buy the Hungry Man and I go home and eat it. Did I have a choice to eat more healthily in that scenario?
Well, yeah, you chose the Hungry Man.
But I didn't even
It's
know
what
that
you
there was
know, so
anything
you
else.
chose
How can I choose something else if I didn't know there was something else?
Well, that would be on you.
How is that on me?
It's up
I'm
to
blind.
you. Well, being blind doesn't stop you from learning about the world. There are plenty
How
of
would I have
blind people that you know.
I mean, in the hypothetical, I didn't know
Okay.
about these things. So the reason I give this example is because
Okay, but I'm
so
sorry. I did my epistemology research. Even though you don't know something, doesn't mean it's not still true, though.
that's not the point of the analogy. I'll just clarify.
Okay,
So
okay.
if I go up to the guy that runs the grocery store or whatever, and I say, hey, I'm watching my weight. Where do you keep the Hungry Man? If the guy says, oh, I just keep it on aisle 5, and then I walk with my blind person stick over to aisle 5 or whatever, and then I grab the Hungry Man and I go home. Well, I wasn't really given the choice to make a good, healthy choice for my body, right? If on the other hand, hold on, I'm not done. If on the other hand, when I mentioned to the guy that runs the store, hey, I'm trying to watch my weight, where do you keep the Hungry Man? He said, oh, if you're trying to watch your weight, let me tell you about this other thing. Let me show you this other thing that exists that you could use to watch your weight. That's a more healthy food. Well, now I can actually make a choice. Now I can make the choice between Hungry Man and, I don't know, whatever the healthy foods are these days. Which is to say, it only makes sense. It only makes sense to say that you can make a choice if you know about the other options.
Well, I mean, you do know about the other options, though. You're choosing
In the hypothetical,
atheism.
the guy doesn't.
Right, but that's in the hypothetical. This is reality. I mean,
oh, okay.
I
you're
mean,
saying I know
man,
that God exists. I'm just choosing to not follow him.
No, I don't know how to. Let's in the hypothetical, the man telling you now that there's another option, you can still choose the other option, but that doesn't stop the Hungry Man from being let's just say the right option or a correct option. It doesn't stop that from being an option just because you found new options or didn't know about the option.
If I don't have reason to think that there is another option, how can I make the choice to take that other option if I don't think that it exists?
You see, that's the great part, is there is reason to believe and not to believe.
So I thought you were just telling me that there wasn't.
To believe.
I thought you were just telling me that there wasn't reason, that there wasn't evidence.
Which is why it's up to you to choose, because there is no hard, fast evidence.
But if there's no evidence, then there's no reason to believe that it even exists. So how are you supposed to choose something that you don't have reason to believe exists?
Because of the what the previous caller said, the consistency and the connectivity.
So now you are
everything.
offering evidence. So why don't we just talk about the evidence rather than just coming up and saying, well, God doesn't want to give you evidence?
Because it's not hard evidence, it's consistent.
I don't know what you mean by hard evidence. I just want evidence of any kind.
Well, I don't know the exact numbers, but there are less written annotations of Alexander the Great than there are of Jesus Christ being real.
I
right?
don't think that Jesus Christ was like made up. I think that he was a real person that existed about 2,000 years ago.
Okay, so now Jesus Christ says, I'm going to walk into this tomb and raise this man from the dead. If that didn't happen,
I don't think that happened.
If that didn't happen, why do we still talk about it? Wouldn't everybody who saw that happen go, "Oh, this is just not real. He can't do it. It's not."
I'm pretty sure we talk about a lot of fiction, don't we?
Well, yeah, but we talk about it in the capacity of fiction. We go, oh, that was fake. Look at Harry Houdini. He made
Well,
an
yeah, I
elephant
mean, so do a
disappear.
lot of people.
Nobody
like, so,
thinks that was
most
real, but
most
we
of the world
accept
isn't
that it
Christian.
happened.
Most of the world isn't Christian, so most of the world doesn't think that happened.
And you know, that's fine. You are free to choose to not believe that happened.
Which is to
Or
say,
you
well,
are
what I'm
free
saying
to
is that
choose
most
God and
of
to
the
choose
world,
that did happen.
most of the world does talk about it as if it's fiction.
Right. Which, I mean,
You're in the minority here.
why wouldn't they? I mean, I'm fine being in the minority.
Right, but you're saying that like people talk about this as if it's real. Like, yeah, the minority of people.
Right, because you can choose to believe either way, which is the
like,
great thing. I
surely
want you to choose to believe.
So surely you don't think that because people talk about something as if it's real, that makes it likely to be true, right?
No, but just because they
It
do
seems
or don't
irrelevant
have
then.
evidence for them having evidence or not of it being real doesn't stop it from being real or not, right?
Sure, but
If
if you
the
want
ma-
to convince,
if the man-
look, if you want me to believe something, then it makes sense that you would try to offer reason to believe it, like evidence or some sort of philosophical justification or something like that.
I mean,
and just to be clear, just to be super, super clear about this,
okay,
God wants me to believe, right?
Right.
God
He wants you
knows
to
what it would
choose to
take.
believe.
God knows, right. So God wants me to choose. Well, God wants me to choose to love Him, right?
Essentially.
So if God wants me to choose to love Him, actually, let me give you another analogy, just because, you know, this is a classic oldie.
Sure.
So let's say that I'm really a fan of Scarlett Johansson's acting work, right? And I just really want to like hang out with her and be her friend. Nothing weird. I'm married and she's married, but like I just want to like hang out with her because, you know, she's cool and her acting's great.
I can relate to this analogy, yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, it would be pretty unreasonable for me to just expect her to want to hang out with me if she doesn't even know I exist, right?
Okay.
So if me as just somebody who just wants to hang out with her and just be her friend and like, you know, have her be my friend and, you know, just everything be great. As somebody who wants that, one would think that the first onus would be on me to make sure that she knows I exist, right?
And
so I should put myself in positions so that like I can be sure that she knows that I exist as a human being on this planet. Right? It's not enough for me to just like leave little notes. Like if I just, you know, left a note in her mailbox, that wouldn't be enough for her to realize that I exist. If I you know, if I sent a video of myself, maybe that would be enough. But the point is that I would have to like make sure that she knows I exist. And it seems like if God wants me to love Him, it seems like the first thing He should do is make sure that I know that He exists.
Right. He's done that.
Apparently not, because I don't know that He exists.
He has done the work in the past. He has brought His Son to earth and has sacrificed Him for the sins of all. And just
apparently that wasn't enough. That was like leaving a note in my mailbox that I didn't see.
Okay, but you know, that note got left in the mailbox. Just because you didn't see it doesn't mean that note wasn't left. Just because you choose to believe it wasn't there doesn't mean it didn't happen.
He can't expect me to love Him if I don't know that He exists. But
I mean, you do know that something is out. Or I won't say it like that because you don't know. How do I want to? You knew of Him. You knew of people that knew of Him.
Look, so I know that some people believe in this. Sure. I know that some people believe in this thing that I don't think is real.
Right. But you couldn't disprove it just as much as I couldn't prove it.
That's not the point.
I can tell you we have these stories.
God knows what it would take. God knows everything. So He knows what it would take for me to know that He exists. For me to like, you know, be confident. Maybe not know 100%, but at least be confident that He exists. And He hasn't done those things. He hasn't done the things that He knows would work.
It's not that He knows they will or won't work.
But He knows what will work, right?
Right.
So why hasn't He done those things?
It's not about, because He wants you to choose.
How can I make the choice if I don't even know that He exists? How can I make the choice to love Him if I don't even know that He exists?
there's no hard evidence that he exists. That's why it's called faith.
How can I make the
you
choice
read
to
the
love him if I don't even know
stories-
that he exists?
You read the stories, and he has presented to you the facts, or not facts, but his son and the written accounts of what has happened, and it's up to you to believe. That's why it is faith.
So,
There's
okay,
no
so
hard
you're
evidence.
telling me that
It
he
is
has
a
not.
choice to live.
So you understand that, like, the stories that he's offered, allegedly, these stories are clearly not enough to convince me that he exists, right? Like, obviously
For
they're not
you,
enough, because
but
otherwise
they
I
are-
would have already been a Christian, or I would have
Correct,
already
but they are enough.
believed in a God.
They are enough for others, and
Yeah,
those
everybody's
of the
different.
time.
Everybody's different.
Right, and exactly.
So
that's all
so
it
why
is.
so why has God only offered what he knows will be enough for some people, and not offered what he knows will be enough for everybody?
You know, if I could answer that, Blitz, I mean, I
Well,
probably wouldn't be a
because-
mechanic right now.
If it's the case that he does want a relationship with everybody, and if it's the case that he wants us
you
to freely
choose to have the relationship.
right, so he wants us to freely choose to love him, then the first piece of that, of achieving that goal would be making sure that everybody knows that he exists. Once I know that he exists, then I can freely choose to love him.
Well, you
No.
do.
Getting more information never removes your choice. It only adds to your choices.
So you now have more information to make the choice to follow him or not.
Well,
You
no,
can
I
see
don't
all
know that
the
he exists
information in
yet.
the world and choose.
Currently, in the worldview that I have that I have reason to believe, there is no choice to love something, to love a God, because a God doesn't exist. Now, if God revealed himself to me, if God gave me some convincing evidence, then I would now know that God exists, and then I could choose whether or not to love that God. I could still choose to not love that God because of, whatever's in the books or whatever it might be, but at least now I would have the choice. But if I don't even think that, if I don't even have reason to think that that God exists, I don't even have the choice to love it because I don't think it exists.
But there you are. It starts with your way of thinking. You think, therefore it does not. Whereas I think, therefore it is. It becomes philosophy. There is no science. Religion is purely philosophy.
Why does God love people near the Mediterranean more than he loves people near in Southeast Asia?
This is not true.
Then why is it that God gives more compelling evidence to people around the Mediterranean that he exists than he does to people in Southeast Asia?
That's because of the time frame of the interactions he had. His followers were there. Upon the sacrifice of Christ, the followers of the church became those who followed Christ. So anybody, anywhere in the world
choose that place rather than some other place?
It was just because of that was the place at in the time period that is, I guess we'd say, the most advanced, or where his people were, or where humanity originated.
Why did he choose his people to be there instead of in Southeast Asia?
Again, Blitz, I couldn't tell you. Maybe one day I'll die.
This should be very puzzling to you, because it seems like if a relationship with God is what God wants, it just statistically, God seems like he wants relationships with people from around the Mediterranean more than he wants relationships with people in Southeast Asia.
That's just where it started and where it proliferated.
Look, if I told you that I wanted, okay, this is going to sound crude. Don't cancel me.
No, go on. I won't cancel you.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to chat. If I told you that I want friends of every race, I want to be friends with people from every race, but then you go look at all of the people in my phone and they're all white, you should be asking some questions.
Well, just because you're in a situation where all your friends are white doesn't mean that your belief and your desire to want friends of every color isn't valid or true.
It definitely should call it into question.
I mean, sure, you can question it, but it's one of those things. Yeah,
you should. If all
you
of your
love
friends
South
are
Africans,
white,
but you live in Antarctica, or not Antarctica, but Alaska, you're not going to meet a lot of those people.
Yeah, but God's everywhere, so
right.
It doesn't really work. It doesn't really the location issue doesn't really work for God. Look, so let's say, it could be the case that maybe I'm like super anti-racist, but I just happen to live in I don't know, Maine, right? It is true in Maine, there's just not a lot of people who aren't white. So like maybe it's true that even though I'm super anti-racist and I want to be friends with everybody, I want to be friends with people of all races, I just only happen to know white people.
That off. Of course you
But God doesn't live in Maine. Why is it that God only loves the white people?
It's not that God only loves the white people. It's
You're
that
right. He
God
loves the white people
everybody.
and the black people from sub-Saharan Africa and the black people that were brought over to the United States and the people that were conquered by the white people. Yep. He loves
That's right.
all of
He
those
loves
people,
you,
but he
Blitz.
doesn't love people in Southeast Asia apparently.
That's not true, Blitz. I don't know where you get the he doesn't love people from a
Well,
specific
he
area.
hasn't really put any effort into forming a relationship with those people.
I mean, I mean, if you don't believe he exists, then how is he putting an effort into forming a relationship?
Well, yeah, I think that this
I
is
believe he's
this
formed
is
a
an
relationship
internal
with
critique.
everybody.
This is an
Okay.
internal critique. Namely, if God were real, one would expect God to put in the effort to form a relationship with people of all kinds, not just people around the Mediterranean and then the people that those people conquered.
I mean, I see it has to start from somewhere. You have to have a starting point,
Why
right?
couldn't he have sent it? Why couldn't he have sent? Look, Jesus is a god, so Jesus can be in multiple places at
Because-
once. Why couldn't Jesus have appeared to every civilization simultaneously?
Because then he wouldn't be in the form of man.
Sure, he would just be a bunch of men. But he's God, he can do that.
But then he wouldn't be in the form of man.
Yeah, he would be multiple men.
He humbled himself to be one man. His son.
Wouldn't he still be humbling himself if he was like 12 men?
But it wouldn't be. It would be the story of 12 men, and honestly,
Well, no, but they'd all be the same.
He was the 12 apostles. They were touched and had the Spirit and went out and performed acts.
So why didn't any of the apostles end up in Southeast Asia?
Actually, they ended up in South Africa. Peter taught Ethiopians Christianity, and
South
then all the
Africa
people.
Ethiopia is not in South Africa, by the way.
Oh, my bad.
That's North Africa, Northeast Africa in particular.
North Africa. Okay.
Yeah, so
Sorry, not
that's my
quite looking
question.
at a
Why
map.
didn't any of them end up in
That area.
Southeast Asia?
Because a lot of them were captured and died and were tortured to death for their beliefs.
Why weren't they protected
He
by
wouldn't
God?
torture-
If God wanted to spread the message to the whole world, he should have done a better job.
He did what he needed to. I mean, those people were called
Apparently
to God.
not,
Killing
because,
somebody who believes in God only
the
sends
unfortunate
them to them.
the unfortunate thing is because God hasn't put in the effort to have a relationship with the people of Southeast Asia, the people of Southeast Asia are overwhelmingly going to end up in hell. And that seems kind of unfair if people end up in hell solely because of where they were born.
No, you end up in hell because you choose not to follow Christ. If you've never known Christ, then you are accepted and you are taught the words upon your death. That's
So
what Jesus
Q-
teaches us. Those
Q,
who do not. Yes,
let me
sir.
ask you a question. If you're born in Cambodia, let's say that you're born on, let's say you have two people, one person born in Cambodia, the Cambodian parents, and
Yes,
at
sir.
the exact same time, at the exact same day, you have another person born in Mississippi, right? Which one is more likely to be Christian? Which one is more likely to accept and choose God?
I mean, I guess the man in Mississippi.
Right. Okay. So there's so we can think of a few. Let's try to come up with the reasons for why that might be the case. On the one hand, it might be the case that people end up making their choices based off of their parents, and so whether or not somebody ends up in heaven or hell depends merely on who their parents were. Well, that doesn't seem just. On the other hand, it could be that the reason why people end up choosing Christianity is because of some intrinsic feature of them. In which case, the people in Cambodia they just intrinsically hate Jesus. In which case, now you're kind of stuck on the racism route.
No,
so
sir.
It's not super clear to me which explanation you want to take as to why the person in Mississippi is more likely to go to heaven than the person in Cambodia.
Actually, no. I believe you said was likely to believe. Your question was which one was more likely to believe.
Can you go to heaven without believing in Jesus?
If you have never known Jesus,
everybody in every part of the world has heard of Jesus. Just to be clear, except maybe like uncontacted tribes.
Okay, well then, everybody has the right to choose, and somebody who chooses to follow Christ and live their life is going to have a harder time than somebody who has never known Christ throughout their life. If both of these people die, and then Christ looks at the man who was a follower, he's going to judge him on his life as a follower. a man who has never known Christ dies, God will judge him as a man who has never known and give him the opportunity in death to choose Christ. So
Wait a
they're
minute. So
both
hold on.
equally
So
likely to go
if
to heaven.
somebody knew about Jesus, but just thought it was like a silly white people thing, and then just believed their own stuff, do they go to heaven or hell?
I mean, they wouldn't believe. They would live in a place without Christ. There's no specific hell. There is simply death.
Okay.
With
Do
an
they
absence of
go to
Christ.
heaven or not?
If they do not accept Christ, they do not go to heaven.
And this is entirely
if
based
you
off
do
of
not
what was believed and what was accepted during life, or with the person who. Okay. So to be clear, it just seems like the worldview that you're promoting is the worldview where like the people who get to heaven are overwhelmingly white, and that seems really suspect.
No.
Or rather, are overwhelmingly non-Southeast Asian.
I mean, I don't know where you got that from. I mean, my
because they're
choice is
overwhelmingly
they're
they are the population that is least likely to be Christian.
You know, then I pray for them, but I don't think they're bad people, and I don't think
Why are
they have any less chance of getting into heaven. I just think
I mean, just statistically, they don't. Statistically, they have a lower chance, right?
I mean, anybody who follows
just by being born in that part of the world, you have a smaller chance of getting into heaven.
I mean, I don't see it that way. Anybody on the earth has the same chance and the same
if that were the case, then you would
Christ, even upon their death.
If that were the case, then you would expect the same number of people from all races, creeds, from all regions to be Christians, but that's just not the case.
I mean, it is not, because God wants you to, again, choose.
So why is it that, so on your view, what is the explanation for why Southeast Asians overwhelmingly don't choose this?
I couldn't answer that. You know, I'm not a Southeast Asian.
Do you believe that there is an explanation?
You know, just like you said, it's just the way you were raised and the way you believe. Now, does this mean that
you don't choose how you were raised or how you were believed? So why is it that you're not? Why is you not getting into heaven depending on like what your parents did?
It's not. It's what you choose to believe.
It's how you were raised. You said that's what your parents did.
No. I said yeah. What did I say? No, I could have swore it's how you choose to believe. You can be raised a certain way.
So why is it that people from Southeast Asia are overwhelmingly less likely to choose to believe it? What's the explanation?
You know, I don't know, culture. It's what they choose to believe. Again,
so
I mean,
their culture,
I don't really have an answer
their
for you
culture
there.
makes it so they're less likely to get into heaven.
Again, no, nobody's less likely to get into heaven. I don't know where you're saying
they are. Like statistically speaking, if you have the view that if you know about Jesus,
you don't know who repents and who doesn't upon death. So you don't know who gets into heaven.
Wait a minute, I thought it was just dependent on what you believe during life.
No, you're offered salvation upon death.
Oh, so when you die, you get the chance to become Christian again?
I would sure hope so. I would hope for all those that, you know, are struggling and don't believe like yourself. I hope.
So then then what's the point of being a Christian during life?
To you know, personally, Blitz, I can't go on by myself. It's nice to know that there's somebody watching me. There's somebody I'm accounted for. If I'm not accountable to somebody, I would eat myself alive. Well, no, Pope's a man. Pope's
I didn't say
human.
Pope. I said cope.
Cope. Oh, no. Well, yeah. Religions across the world help people cope.
Well, that doesn't seem like a good reason to believe in something. I mean, like maybe actually, no, correction. Maybe it's a good reason to believe in it, but it doesn't seem like a good reason to think it's true.
I can't. The best reason I could say to think it's true is just the fact of the sciences being so interconnected and every little thing being connected to something else. Like your short I watched the other day that explained how they found the fields of magnetism through geometry or something like that. I don't remember the details.
It was a little bit not that, but sure.
Not that. But the fact that you can use geometry in physics to solve this problem and the pure chaos to the universe that is somehow brought into order points me in the direction that I believe there is a creator. There is a force. The stories in the Bible reflect a manner in which that I believe this person was real and did these things. That's my host, Johnny. Yes, sir. I'm ready. I'm waiting for that hose on this. That's all I really got. That's all I really got. Blitz, sorry, I'm working.
You're fine. Well, then, Jay, or Q, I'm going to let you go, but thank you for being here.
Absolutely. It was great talking to you, Blitz.
Likewise.
Hope you have a
Take
good
care.
one, brother.
All right. Well, he was nice. Might still end up on YouTube, but I mean, you know, it's worth putting these conversations out there, even if they're not, blood sports. I don't know why I can't see. Oh, I can see the usernames now. That's weird. Let's read some super chats and we'll bring up our next guest. From Skeet with the 5 Canuck bucks, the real issue is that God answers your prayers after you forget about them. Does he? I hope so. If God's real, I hope so. From Gretchen with the $5, it wouldn't be enough for Scarlet to notice you, but it would be enough for your wife to fucking destroy you. Lamau, enjoy that. Look, I am never the kind of person that would ever cheat. My wife knows this. But also, Scarlett Johansson's husband is really funny. Like, he's exceedingly funny. From Skeet with the 5 Canuck bucks, are we the only species that looks at the sky and wonders? An orangutan is very smart, but does not dream about the stars. How do you know what an orangutan dreams about? Don't go over here assuming. From Skeet again with the 5 Canuck bucks, I believe the Sumerian tablets in the Book of Enoch more than the Bible, as well as the Indus Valley texts. Okay. From Skeet with the 5 Canuck bucks again, at the end of the day, we do not understand who cut the top of a mountain off in South America. Nobody cut the top of mountains off, unless you're talking about the ones that actually were cut off by, you know, Indo-Americans. From Mostly Gizzards with the $5, Christianity is basically one of the longest running catfishing schemes. Real OG, right? From Skeet again with the 5 Canuck bucks, Euro-Christianity was an excuse to do evil to the rest of the world. The Europeans destroyed the societies of both Americas in one generation. I don't know if it was one generation, but it was certainly very fast. From Skeet again with the 5 Canuck bucks, Euro-Christianity is a lie. The oldest Christian society on Earth is Ethiopia. Well, I would imagine that it's actually like comes from like Judea, like around the Judea area, but who knows? From V Canuck with the 7 Canuck bucks, Blitz, come on. This is just the, if God wants me to know that he exists, then why doesn't he let me know and keep it secret fallacy? Shit's weak. That's not a fallacy. It's called the argument from divine hiddenness. It's not a fallacy at all. It's actually a very, very powerful argument. From Skeet again with the 5 Canuck bucks, the Queen of Sheba is Ethiopia. This caller is uninformed. Okay. From Skeet again with the 5 Canuck bucks, this is the same narrative that love Egypt and makes it seem like the Egyptians were not Africans. What? Oh, sorry for mispronouncing your name. It's Vaikanuk. It's pronounced Vaikanuk. Got it. I slammed it Canadian. Got it. I'm sorry. I'll get it right next time. Vaikanuk. From Kevin Capizzi with the $1. Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate you. From Skeet with the 5 Canuck bucks, the lie of Euro-Christianity is proved when even today people make contact with tribes in the Amazon, wipe them out within 2 weeks. I don't know if that's true, but it is certainly worrying when things like that do happen. And from Skeet, finally, the penultimate super chat. The truth is that in 1980, the right wing took over Christianity and told the lie of abortion to judge people, in direct opposition to let he who is without sin cast the first stone. That's a good point. It's a good point, and I appreciate this, Skeet. We have two more super chats. One from Frozen Plays Games with the $2. Would God answering prayers take away our free will? That's a good question. And from Vikanuk with the $2.79. The first one was just a hi man. LOL. I appreciate you, Vike. All right. Let us bring up our next guest. Let's talk to, oh, hey, it's the missing piece. The missing piece is back. Do we want to talk to the missing piece for a few minutes? I feel like I think I've spoken to the missing piece before. Nah, we'll bring up the actual person who's been waiting the longest. From SS. SS, how's it going?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing all right. SS, I just want to double check. Why is your name SS?
I don't want to give out my name, but I can say it because
it doesn't have anything to do with like the Germans of World War II, does it?
No.
Okay, just double checking. I understand that there can be other reasons to have the name. My username rather is Blitz. So like, people ask me all the time why that's the case. So SS, welcome. Why do you believe in God?
Oh, I'm Hindu, so technically I believe in energies, not the God.
You believe in
So,
energies.
yes.
What does that mean?
So energies are the manifestations of the God in some ways. So in my case, it is creation is one type of energy, destruction is another, and
Can you elaborate what you mean by energy?
Energy, just simple. So, for example, Brahma is the creator. So
I understand that.
Energy required for the creation of the things, but he not necessarily have to be any sort of divine thing. He is just the term.
I just need to know what you mean by energy.
Energy is anything, everything. Like the way that I'm talking to you, or the potential energy within us, or the kinetic energy that we let us drive. Whatever.
I still don't understand. Like, look, energy means a very specific thing when we're talking about science.
Yes. That
you
same
don't mean
energy.
that though, right?
Yes, I do mean that.
Okay, so then what do you mean?
So I do mean that.
Oh, well, then surely not,
So,
because energy is not like a substance.
It's not like a physical manifestation of the God, but the energies that link me to you are in metaphysical or whatever. I don't have.
I mean, energies aren't metaphysical either.
Yes, but in the I am not connected to you, but still I am connected to you by talking, which is the energy that I am.
Right, but it's not energy, right? Energy is something very specific when it comes to science.
Yes.
You talking to me is an energy. You talking to me is, motion of a particular thing.
Which is a kind of energy.
No, motion is an energy.
Motion that drives it is the energy.
Energy is not a thing. Energy is like a number.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying. It is not the energy is considered the God.
So God is a number in your view?
It doesn't have to be number.
Well, energy is a number.
Yes, in certain ways, if you want to think it in that way, yes, it is energy.
No, I mean in every way. Energy is like a numerical quantity.
Yeah. Yeah. In that way, in that way, numbers are also kind of a God in for me.
That's confusing to me.
Yeah, it is. And same way, creative energy is the Brahma.
What's creative energy?
Creative energy that drives us to create something. Whatever.
It sounds like you're talking about motivation.
Yes.
But
It is motivation, or it can be motivation or the creation. I'm not talking about.
But that's not energy.
It is what that drives it. What the physical thing that we do is the energy. If you are teaching me something, I am giving you. I can see a God in you.
Look, I just think that we're not talking about the same thing here.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the Christian God or
no, I'm not talking
God.
about that either. I mean energy. We're not talking about the same thing when we say the word energy.
I am talking exactly the same thing.
Then the thing that you're describing is not correct.
No,
like it's just not the case that there's such a thing as creative energy, right?
Creation is requires the energy, right?
Sorry, one more time.
Energy
Creation
is the God. Creation is divided up by energy, which
creation is divided up by energy.
So creation energy is there. Energy is the supreme.
Energy is a number. It's not a thing.
Yes.
It's not a thing that's there.
Yeah, energy is there. Energy
it's not. It's not a thing. It's not a substance. It's a number.
Yes.
What does it mean for a number to be there?
So that we believe in that energy. That's it. It is not the God. we are
Look,
not.
this is confusing for me because it sounds like you're saying we believe in numbers.
Yes.
And like, I don't know what it means for numbers to have creative power.
I am not saying that God is powerful or anything. It is what
I
it
didn't say
is.
that.
Yes.
I just meant like you said that there's creative energy, which would mean
Yeah,
that energy has
like
creative power.
Creation requires energy, and that energy is what we pray to.
Creation doesn't require energy. Energy isn't a substance.
Can you create something without putting some energy?
Energy is not a substance. It's not a thing that you can put.
No. I'm not talking about God as a substantial thing.
I'm not talking about God either. I'm just talking about energy.
Yes, I pray to the energy of a person, energy of a substance.
You pray to the energy. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, SS, I agree that energy exists in the same way that like the number 22 exists. So I don't think that there's a whole lot more to talk about. But thank you so much for being here.
Yeah. I guess.
I just have an issue with this whole energy business because like energy is a number, right? Now, maybe you believe that numbers have like some abstract existence, but energy is a number. All right, let's bring up Ian Brown.
Hello.
Ian Brown, how's it going?
I'm doing fine. So
Glad to
you
hear
don't
it.
believe numbers are like, say if a mathematical truth, right?
Hold on,
You
before
don't
we continue,
believe-
I just want to double check. Do you believe in God?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking. Go ahead.
So you don't believe mathematical truths exist, although they're abstract?
Yeah, I'm a nominalist. I don't think that like
The
abstract
Platonism
things have ontology.
Right. So you're not like into Platonism or anything
No,
like
I'm
that.
not.
Okay. But you're like a mathematician, right?
Yeah, I play one on TV. And by that I mean
So-
yes. Yes, depending on the day.
So you're familiar with the allegory of Plato's cave?
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with being a mathematician.
Why?
I mean, like, you could be a mathematician without knowing the allegory of the cave, and you could also know about the allegory of the cave without being a mathematician.
Right. But the whole thing about the cave was there was a 3D cube projecting a 2D shadow onto the cave wall, right?
Yep.
But if you take it a step further, right, a 4D tesseract would have to project that 3D cube.
Or the 3D cube is just the real thing.
That could be true. That could be true. But in order for me to take my conversation about God further, I have to go further down this line.
Okay, but then it seems like you would first have to prove or at least provide plausibility for the case that you're trying to make about the 4D thing existing.
Okay, the 4D thing is subjective.
I don't understand what you're trying to say about that.
Okay, once you outside of the third dimension, in order to get to the fourth dimension, it requires subjective internal truths, you know?
No, I don't know.
All right, so you're familiar with anthropic AI, right?
No.
Well, they're modeling their AI to have consciousness, and they have something called four-dimensional latent space.
Okay,
And
cool.
in this four-dimensional latent space, they're modeling four-dimensional geometric patterns with large language models and Jungian archetypes.
Okay, cool. Why should I care about any of that?
Because this is supposed to be a representation of our conscious. You know, they're trying to emulate our conscious, and our conscious expands beyond 3 dimensions.
Well, that's the claim anyway. Why should I believe it?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know why you should believe it.
Well, I mean, typically people believe things because they have reasons to believe them.
Right.
So what's the reason to believe this?
The Jungian archetypes, right? Remember when I said you have to turn inward to get to the fourth dimension, right?
Yeah, I remember that you said that, yeah.
There's something called DMT space, right?
I don't think that that's true.
Okay, but in this DMT space, you have these same Jungian archetypes, and you have these complex geometric patterns.
That's
this
definitely a thing that you said.
Yeah, and this DMT comes from the pineal gland, which is in between the left and right hemispheres of the brain.
Emotional damage.
So it's like the archetypes are based in the collective unconscious. So when they're modeling
Hey, quick question.
anthropic AI,
Ian Brown. Am I saying your name right? Is it Ian or Ian or?
It's Ian.
Okay, Ian. How are you fond of Jordan Peterson?
Yeah.
Okay, I kind of figured. Why should I believe like any of this Jungian stuff?
They're using it to create AI right now. They're modeling it after you. They're modeling it
at least
after
that's
your
what they say.
Right, after your multidimensional consciousness.
That's a lot of words. Why should I believe any of it?
It's like, okay, when we talk about God, a lot of people put God outside of themselves, right? They look at God as something external to who they are.
Wait a minute, hold on. What God do you believe in?
I believe in the I am.
Okay, do you think that there is a being that is responsible for sustaining or creating the universe and is separate from it?
No, I think it's all one organism. All one organism. But your consciousness is tied into this organism. You are interconnected with the universe itself in multiple dimensions.
This is a load of barnacles.
Look, bro, I don't know why I would believe any of this. This all seems like nonsense, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, is there any reason that is there anything concrete that you can like, you know, connect to that would give me any reason to believe any of this?
I'm trying to be as logical as I can be.
You've given me nothing concrete, though.
It's abstract. Sometimes the things that matter are not the material things in life. You're a mathematician. You deal with the abstract all the time. You should know this.
Yeah, but I'm like a formalist, so like I don't think that these things like actually exist.
No, you got to know that these things exist.
No, even I don't think that they do.
They like the guy earlier was saying that there's some type of thing before the Big Bang that structures the whole universe.
That was the claim anyway, yeah.
That would be the Platonic realm.
Well, that's a claim that you could make, but actually in this case, no, you can't, because the Platonic realm kind of by construction doesn't have any causal power, so it can't do anything.
Right, you're right. It doesn't have causal power, so it needs some type of will. But from a fourth dimension, its symmetry breaks. When the fourth dimension goes into the 3 dimension, its symmetry breaks.
Can you tell me what symmetry breaking is?
Okay, so when Plato was holding up the 3-dimensional cube, the 2-dimensional shadow was the loss of information and dimensionality.
Seems like you're not telling me what symmetry breaking is.
I just told you. When Plato, when in the Plato's cave allegory, when they had the 3-dimensional cube and they projected the 2-dimensional shadow onto the cave wall, the 2-dimensional shadow lost dimensionality and information because it went from a 2-dimensional shadow to a 3-dimensional
which thing that you just said is symmetry breaking?
All of it.
So symmetry breaking is when a cube casts a shadow?
Not just a cube casting a shadow. It could be any shape casting a shadow into a lower plane.
So symmetry breaking is when something casts a shadow.
Right, from a higher dimension.
All right, hold on, y'all. I got to write that down. Hold on. This is important. Symmetry breaking is when something casts a shadow from a higher dimension to a lower dimension. Got it.
It loses information and dimensionality.
Ah, okay. Okay. Look, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. This sounds like, you know, well.
Sounds like a lot of...
So, like, I'm gonna let you go. Like, he couldn't give me anything. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know where we were going with that. All right, let's read a few super chats. From Vikanuk with the 279, the first one was just a joke. Oh, okay, I'm sorry about that. I misinterpreted it. It's really hard to, oh, I get it. Okay, it was this comment that was just a joke. I see, okay. I got you. I'm picking up what you're putting down. From Vikanuk again, thank you for the 7 Canuck bucks. I'm giving away my green fees to make up for my inability to type and circumvent the persistent issues of conveying sarcasm in El Forum Seriosa. Yeah, conveying sarcasm in super chats can be kind of tricky unless you put the /s. That definitely helps. From Tiny Hippo with the 70 ZAR, which is South African Rand, I believe. Tribes do still get killed off to this day. You can look up the man in the hole in 2022. A tribe in Brazil was wiped out by loggers, taking their tribe's culture and history with them. I'm not saying that they don't get wiped out. I think that the person claimed that, like, it was happening, like, if it was happening just from, like, one person meeting, from, like, making contact, it just happens in, like, a day, and that's definitely not true. Like, it definitely happens, but I think that the person was just exaggerating a bit. And from Skeet with the 5 Canuck bucks, we do not understand energy fully today. How do we create static energy by shuffling our feet? That's electromagnetism. That's super fully understood. It's actually a really good video topic, though. I'm going to put that on the list of topics to make a video about. Static electricity generation by feet. Because that is, it is curious. It's well understood, but it is curious. From Gemini Rooster with the $10, I'm a mental health therapist. Jungian therapy is interesting and archetypes can be useful, but it's not evidence-based in the least and is generally shunned by mainstream psychology. Yeah, that was basically my understanding too. From Skeet with the 5 Canuck bucks, AI is a glorified encyclopedia that has no idea what the world was before 1995. That's so true, though. It's like it woke up in 1995 and then just assumed that the world didn't exist before that. It's so funny. From Skeet again with the 2 Canuck bucks, mathematics are not philosophers. That's true. Dan O'Connell with the 279, this guy is calling from the 4th dimension. His audio wasn't that bad, was it? From Skeet with the 2 Canuck bucks, he is as insane as Descartes. Descartes wasn't insane, he was just thoughtful. I believe, and let me just double check because I think that I got a very, well, Josh sent me a very generous super chat. Says don't worry about reading it, so I'm not going to read it, but thank you so much, Josh. I do appreciate you. And from Aaron as well, with the $5 buy me a coffee, saying, love how you're hand-holding this guy through acceptance of determinism and the philosophical speed run after that. Yeah, I mean, that was about an earlier conversation, but I do appreciate it regardless. Thank you so much, Aaron. Ron, and I just want to make sure I didn't miss any other ones. All right, let me double check something because I might have I have an appointment later this afternoon at 3:30. Okay, I can probably bring on another guest. So let's bring up another guest. Sounds like a load of hoopla. Actually, I just got a message. Oh, okay. All right, let us bring up, there was somebody who was, I feel like I've spoken with the missing piece before, right?
Yeah,
the missing piece,
how's
we've
it going,
spoken
Blitz?
before, right?
Yeah, we have.
How did it end? Do you remember?
I don't know. We were talking. I don't remember how it ended, but we were talking. I was talking about like spirituality and consciousness and stuff, and I think you were pushing back on that.
Okay. Yeah, I just, oh shoot. I just signed, don't you hate it when you accidentally sign out of a thing? Oh, I'm getting a phone call. I'm sorry. One moment. I hide my mouth because people have said that they can read my lips, and some of these phone calls can be about things that are you know, they're somewhat sensitive, which I would rather have people not know about. So that's why I cover my mouth. But anyway, so we were chatting about spirituality, you say?
Yeah. Actually, if you're cool with it, I wanted to ask you. I have a criticism and kind of a question about the Big Bang. If you're open to that.
A criticism?
Yeah, I think that the way it's worded.
That was a weird sound. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good, bro. Yeah, the way it's worded. So, you know, when I look it up, because I think we talked about it for a minute last time, and you said, let me know if this is something you would say. You might have said something like, well, there may have been energy prior to that, or energy might have always been here. Is that?
Yeah, the point is that we don't really know whether or not the Big Bang was the beginning or not. But look, if we've spoken about this, like this isn't really on topic, and there are people who have been waiting that want to talk about the topic here.
Okay.
So I mean, it's probably not the time or place.
All right. Well, can I put it into one sentence?
Sure.
The Big Bang, as it's listed on most things like space.com, NASA, these places, it says it's when the universe began. Universe is the word universe means everything that exists, which is different from the observable universe, which is the things that we are aware of and can measure or take in with our senses. And so
I
the whole
absolutely agree that they are misrepresenting the current scientific view.
Okay, awesome. Yes, yeah, that's all I was gonna say. Is like it just the verbiage needs to be updated to say as far back as we can see. That's what it needs to say.
But I'm gonna let you go.
In regards to.
I did say, like, I do want to talk about the topic. Let's talk to OLF. OLF, how's it going?
Hi, my name is Olaf.
Olaf, great. Olaf, do you believe in God?
I am a long-time fan of you. I grew up in Catholic religion. I don't believe in God right now, but I have a quick opposition to offer to you.
Well, but look, I'm not interested in doing the devil's advocate thing, so I'm going to let you go. If you don't believe, then you don't believe. Let's talk to Scarfia. Scarfia is not connecting. Let's talk to, I guess we could bring up somebody from the Discord as well. Let's talk to Ashitaka. Ashitaka, how's it going? Ashitaka, you gotta unmute yourself. I can't do it for you. All right. Bring up Big Chief. Big Chief. How's it going?
Hello?
Hey, how you doing? I can hear you. Yeah, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Big Chief, do you believe in God?
Hello?
I can hear you. All right. We'll let him figure that out. We'll bring up Ivan. Ivan, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Ivan, do you believe in God?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And which God would that be, just so I don't make the wrong assumption?
Catholic.
Sorry?
Catholic.
Catholic? Okay, you're Catholic. Why should I believe in the Catholic God?
Because he is the one.
Because he's the one?
Yes, only true God.
I'm asking why I should think that's true.
Because there's lots of evidence.
Okay, what's the evidence?
For you always ask me for evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're gonna get it.
Yeah, please.
There's Eucharistic miracles.
Yeah, like which one?
By a lot of them.
Want to give me an example?
Oh, I don't recall now.
Oh.
And
Hard for me to
I'm
believe
not,
something that you can't tell me about.
Yes. I'm always have problems with, to remember details, and I'm not prepared right for you. But I will do soon. That's for sure.
Okay. Got anything else?
I will give you names from scientists. They are atheists
Names of who?
like you, and scientists that look at those miracles and then change to believers.
Okay.
You can't find evidence for if you look on wrong places, if you presume that it can't be true, and things like that. But if you really want to find evidence for God,
So
if
what's
you
the
really
names of
want,
these people?
if he believes and if he exists, and you
What are the
want
names
to,
of these people? I thought you were going to give me the names of these people.
Sorry for that. I don't care now.
Okay.
But
Ivan,
I
it
will
sounds like
give
the audio is really not great, and it also sounds like you don't have the evidence right now, so I'm going to let you go. But thank you for being here. Maybe come back next time and you'll have the evidence next time. Let's bring up Luca. Luca, how's it going?
Hello. How are you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Luca, do you believe in a god?
Yeah, I do.
Sorry, you cut out one more time. Luca. Luca.
Sorry. Can you hear me?
I can. Yes. You're good.
Yeah, I have to remove my headphones. They just died now. Sorry about that.
You're fine.
Yeah, I believe in a god.
And which one would that be?
It's mostly Christian, Catholic, but I'm not really into religion. It's more like the idea of the teachings or something like that.
That's fine. So, look, I don't believe that. Why should I?
Actually, I think I will try something different. I think it's human to believe in God, and human is as in like evolutionary. Like if you have in mind biology, when we start diverging from other hominids, sorry for my English. I'm
Your
not
English is fine.
native. Yeah, when we start diverging, one of the first things that appear in the biology of humans or Homo sapiens was like a ritual.
Sure. So look, I agree that it might be very human to believe, but that doesn't give me a justification for why I should think it's true.
Yeah. No. Well, actually, I'm trying to go more like conviction to why is like positive for you or for anyone to believe in a god.
Look, so I might agree that it may even be possible. Sorry, not possible. Positive. It may be like good for my well-being to believe in a god, but I struggle to believe things that I don't have good evidence to believe in. And because so unless you can offer me good evidence for this thing, I'm just gonna have a hard time believing it.
Okay, no, I understand. I think I misread the question that, like, can you convince me to believe in your God? I think it was more like, if it gives you, like, something, and it's something that gives you something positive, maybe it should maybe convince you. I think that my approach was, like, from that point of view. Because I actually agree with you that there's no evidence, and actually, I think... like science and theology or beliefs have to be completely apart.
That's fair. That is a respectable position. But so Luca, I'm gonna let you go then. But thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Take care.
Can I ask you one question before?
Yeah, sure.
Know that you works in physics. I actually doing my PhD in biology, but I'm trying to broaden my knowledge. So where can I find your work? Because you're a really good communicator.
I don't make it public, if only because The people I talk
I
with
completely
sometimes.
understand. Yeah.
That said, Luca, if you want to join my Discord server and message me, I will send it to you.
Okay, thank you. Have a great day.
Take care. By the way, that privilege that I will send you, like my research stuff, that is restricted solely for other scholars. Only happens for other scholars. Sorry, guys. All right, let's bring up Nate. Nate, how's it going?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Not a whole lot. Nate, do you believe in a god?
Yes, I do.
And which god would that be?
I'm Christian, just evangelical.
Helpful. Okay, so why should I believe that God exists?
Well, there's kind of two different routes you could go with this. One would be there is archaeological evidence that backs up the Bible. You could look at something like the Shroud of Turin that gives some pretty compelling evidence for a supernatural occurrence. But other than that,
we can talk about that if you want, but you made it sound like there's a few things, so I figured I would just let you talk and tell us the few things.
Well, do you know anything about the Shroud of Turin?
Yeah, I know that it's a 13th century construction, which was confirmed by an archbishop at the time. So it just seems like we don't really have a good reason to think that it's like real.
Yeah, well, thanks to the Catholic Church, it's really difficult for very many scholars to get their hands on it and do comprehensive studies, but from the ones who have had that opportunity. The claims are that it's basically like God took the first selfie. There's such a burst of energy in such a small amount of time that they can't reproduce the image that is on the shroud. It's got a lot of markings on it that would verify things from the Bible, like how his side was pierced. There's different types of, like, if after you're dead, there's certain things in your blood that are markers that this is post-mortem, blood. And
but that's never been tested.
Well, that's what thanks Catholic Church. So
right. So why would you think that it's real? I mean, like the only actual testing that's been done on actual pieces of the shroud were carbon dating conducted by three independent research outlets, like the 3 different institutions basically, and they all came to the same conclusion that it was like a 13th century forgery.
What time period are you talking about?
Because when it was constructed, it was like, or maybe it may have been
there was more
14th century.
recent studies done on it.
There's only been one time where scientists have actually had access to actual samples of the shroud, right? And that was back in the 80s. Sorry, not 13th century,
there was
14th
a study
century.
done in 2024,
they weren't analyzing new samples. I'm familiar with what you're referring to.
So
They weren't
your
analyzing
claim
new
would be
samples.
that the whatever they were studying is a fraudulent sample. It would be
No, they just didn't have new samples, right? They were looking at like old stuff. These are not these were not like new samples taken from the shroud.
Okay, but if it was part of the shroud, I mean, are you saying that that's not verifiable? What are you saying exactly?
What I'm saying is that the people who ran those studies, as far as I remember, they actually didn't have the samples themselves with them. Those samples were destroyed with the original carbon dating sampling because that's how carbon dating works. It's destructive.
You're just saying that there weren't new studies done.
No, there were new analyses done. There were new analyses done.
But it
I don't
wasn't
think that
done
they were
on
new
the actual
samples.
shroud.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, like,
as far as
that's my understanding, but I can double check that if you want.
Yeah, that would be great to double check that, because that's been a big piece of evidence for me over the last since I've heard that 6, 10, 12
suffice
months
it
ago,
to say,
whatever.
it's pretty. So look, the carbon dating dates it to a time in the mid 1300s, right? Mid to late 1300s, and that's exactly consistent with the historical record, where we have the archbishop of a place in France, a bishop of a place in France, saying it was a forgery, and I know who made it.
I'm not.
So, like,
I'm sure there have been multiple forgeries of the shroud.
No, but this is the shroud. This is the Shroud of Turin. The
Okay,
shroud, the
so
one that
you're
you're
assuming
referring to, that's the
Okay.
one that was declared a forgery by a bishop in France in the mid 1300s. And he said
All
not
right, so-
not only is it a forgery, he knew who the forger was.
So let me go back to the beginning. What I was saying, there's a couple different ways to go at this. I could try and throw the best evidence I have at you,
Mhm.
right? But okay, an important thing to understand if analyzing Christianity from a philosophical, realistic standpoint is simulation theory. Okay, video games are an object lesson that we've been given to understand some sort of distancing and multi-dimensional spatial differences between our realm and wherever God is. So we are Sims right now. You're a Sim that's
That's a huge
demanding me to
claim.
give you evidence of the humans. Like, you ever played the game Sims on computer, whatever?
Yeah, I
You're a
have.
Sim that's
Why
demanding
should I
that
think
I
any of that?
give you evidence for the
Uh-huh.
existence of humans. So think about
Yeah,
that.
well, wait a minute. Why
conceptually.
should I think that I'm a sim? Why should I think that there is anything above us?
Yeah, I mean, dude, you're smart, okay, and you're good at this rhetoric. You really are.
I just asked a question. I don't think that that's rhetoric.
Why should you think that I'm okay? So if the Bible's true, I'm saying if Christianity is true, okay, if it is
Yep.
true,
If it is true,
then I do not have there wouldn't be evidence. If there's this immensely powerful, immensely intelligent, omniscient, omnipresent, all the omnis, if there's a creator that has all these qualities, that has
Mhm.
designed this test to sort us out, test us both, whatever, and he
Wait,
doesn't
why
want
is he
you
testing
to
Sims?
Oh, dude, who are you to ask him why he's doing
No,
what?
I mean, like, he made the Sims, right? Like why would he need to test the Sims if he made the Sims? Wouldn't he just, like, know?
Because he gave us free will. Because free will is you have to have free will in order to have love. I mean, he created. I mean, what does God face?
I just like,
if he
look,
has everything.
maybe the analogy is just not correct. Is just like not connecting here. But like, if you're telling me that we're Sims, like if
we're
if
a
I was
type
programming,
of we're in a simulation of sorts.
so
It's a simulation
are
of
we
sorts.
real or are we NPCs?
We would have a real, in my analogy, we would have a real soul that's been injected Tron style into another reality, a new body with all these experiences that can be
sure.
training ground, whatever, learning, testing of our character, of our, who we are.
Okay, so we were injected into the Sims, but we're actually like real. We're not NPCs.
Right. There would
Got
be
it.
a part of us that exists outside of this, like Matrix style. If you maybe not such a dark
Sure.
graphic scene, but yeah, basically Matrix style. We exist outside of this, and temporarily we've been placed into this.
Understood. Okay, so God wants to test us because, well, you don't know the answer, but maybe that's fine.
Well, I could theorize that it's the philosophy of governing. If you're trying to create a utopia, tell me a better way to do it than to put everyone in the testing ground and see what they're kind of made of, and in their free will and their open.
Well, I would just give them the
market
kind of free will
choices.
that he has, where he can't do anything wrong.
So
The kind of free will that
that's
Jesus had.
If God is eternal, right? He's been refined over eternity into whatever he is, which we haven't had eternity to be refined into. So,
well, I mean, like
he's
Jesus as a human was just like a guy. He was just a human, right? He was 100% human. So give him whatever kind of free will Jesus had.
There's a guy named Ron Wyatt that claims to have found the Ark of the Covenant, and among other
He's made
things.
a lot of claims. You know what he hasn't done?
What?
He hasn't presented any evidence of any of it.
So it's one of those things. He said that
You shouldn't believe a word he says, by the way.
Okay, yeah, probably not. But apparently there's some possibility that you could verify that he took the blood sample from.
No, you can't verify this. I've heard about this claim. So he made this claim that he got a blood sample from, allegedly from
and
Jesus,
had
and then
24 chromosomes.
Yep,
yeah,
but you know what he didn't do? He didn't tell anybody where he sent the blood sample to be checked. He didn't tell anybody where the like who was checking it. He didn't tell anybody where he found the blood sample. He didn't tell anybody anything. He just said, I got this, I found this blood sample. I sent it to a lab and they told me that it had 24 chromosomes or whatever. He didn't give us any information.
My whole point of this is that, Jesus would be God's avatar, right? It's like he was God, but he got injected into this,
Yeah, I mean, so like
it seems
like God is all powerful.
He's not expecting us to do something that he wasn't willing to do himself.
It seems like if he's all powerful, he could, give us the kind of free will that he has. But that's neither here nor there. Why should I believe that we are in a simulation at all?
How's that mean free will? Just because you have the discipline or integrity or whatever these qualities you want to line it up to make perfect choices all the time. I mean, how does that?
You think God has free will, right?
Of course he has free will, but that's not what makes him perfect. His free will, it's not a different type of free will.
Does God do sin? Does God make bad choices?
No.
Okay, God has free will, yet he doesn't make bad choices. Therefore, it's possible to have free will and not make bad choices.
Yes.
So God could give us that kind.
He could make us perfect. He could make us robots.
He doesn't. Is God a robot?
What do you mean?
In the same way that you just said robot, is God that kind of robot?
Okay, he could that would be stripping us of our free will if he took away
no, wouldn't it? It would just be giving us the kind of free will that he has.
You cannot have love. Love is a choice. You cannot have love without options. You cannot have love without the choice to make a selfish decision.
Can God love?
Of course he can.
Okay. Does God have the choice to make a selfish decision?
Yes, of course he has the option.
And yet
to make
he never
a selfish
can.
decision.
He never will. So he could just give us the kind of free will that he has.
It's not a kind of free will. It's an
Look, there's a kind of
refinement.
So God has. So wait, are you telling me that God used to have free will that wasn't perfect?
We have no idea how long.
I thought God doesn't
forever
change.
Is forever.
Does
forever
God
is
change?
forever. Forever is forever. That's not something we can conceptualize in this simulation in our current vessels. Dude, I don't know what God does. He doesn't change anymore. Maybe he used to.
Oh, okay. Because I'm pretty sure in the Bible it says that he doesn't change, right?
He doesn't change now. Maybe he used to. At some point,
it doesn't say that.
Throughout eternity. No, it doesn't say a lot of things. It's not a science book.
No, it's a book about God. I mean, in Malachi 3:6, God says, "I, the Lord, do not change."
He does not change. Current status of not changing anymore.
Okay, so you think that this is consistent with God used to change?
It could be. I think I have a loophole there.
Okay, do you think that that's like compelling to somebody who doesn't already believe what you believe?
I mean, maybe. I don't know. Apparently it's not compelling to you, but we're
really.
just you like to take a broader argument and just refine it down. You like to try and pinhole people. And you're good at it, dude. You are.
Taking a broad vague argument and refining it down into its quintessential reasons, justifications.
You haven't trapped me yet. Okay.
So that's like the whole business of a debate, right? Like that's what we should be doing.
Yeah, you're very good at debate. I'll give you that.
I appreciate that, I guess. So look, it's just okay. So on your theology, God used to change but doesn't change anymore. Fine.
Potentially.
Well, I mean, it must be the case if there was some sort of refinement that happened, right?
It must be the case, right?
Well, if you're making the claim that God's free will is not a particular kind of free will, but he's just perfect in his decision making.
That free will doesn't come in variety. It's free will. You have choice. You have an option to make choices.
So you're telling me that God could choose to do something evil?
Yeah, of course. He could.
Okay, so if I find a verse that says that God cannot do evil,
he won't do evil. And then you're going to have to look. Am I sure that he won't do evil, or am I sure
so
that...
if I go to say Job 34:10.
If God is what do you mean, dude? If God is the all-powerful creator, he's not you can't put him in a box. He's capable of whatever he wants to be capable
of. So you're telling me that God is capable, God is able to do evil?
He doesn't want to, because he's
sure, but he's able to do evil.
He could. If he wanted to, he could. He could do anything he wanted to.
So it sounds like you're telling me that there is a possible world in which God does evil.
No, I'm not saying that.
Then it means that there's no possible world in which God does evil.
If he wanted to, he could do whatever he wanted to do, but he doesn't.
So there's not a
Irrelevant.
possible world in which God does evil?
No.
Okay, which means that it's impossible for God to do evil.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I'll
God
give you
could
that
not
one.
do evil even if he wanted to. Because there is no possible world in
It
which
seems like
God
some
does
kind of
the evil.
circular. It seems like some kind of circular logic here. You're
No, just doing possible world analysis.
okay.
Is there a possible world in which God wants to do evil?
Yeah, possible. Sure, possible.
Okay, so in that world, in that possible world, God wants to do evil. Does he then do evil because he wants to do evil?
If he wants to do it, he does it. But that's not the world we live in. That's
But
not the world
earlier
he
you said
created.
that there is no possible world in which God does evil.
He didn't. So we're just in something real abstract and vague. I mean,
There's
I'm just
nothing
telling you,
vague
God
here.
has free will, and he could do if he wanted
Okay,
to do.
okay,
but
fine.
he doesn't.
In your worldview, God could do evil if he wanted to. He just
He could do
doesn't in
anything
our.
he
He
wanted
just
to
doesn't in
do.
our world. Fine. Okay, so that's your position.
He could do anything he wanted to do, but he doesn't want to do whatever you want to call evil. Yeah.
Okay, and you would say the same thing about, like, you know, could God be tempted? Well, he could be tempted, but he never will be. Could
He
God
was
be
tempted
unjust?
in the
Well,
Bible,
he could be unjust, but he never will be. That kind of thing.
Basically, yeah.
Okay. So what is the deciding factor that makes God always choose the good?
I mean, that's a good question. Yeah, that's a good question. Why does he continue to choose good? So what does God face? Does God face any dangers like bears or
Probably
spiders
not.
or viruses? Probably not, right?
Well, except that
What
one
does-
time when, like, one of his prophets was being insulted, and
Not-
so he sent bears to fight them. But aside from that,
Not Jesus, God, the Father. Not
no,
the
this
Son.
wasn't Jesus. This was oh, what's his name? It starts with an E. One of the prophets. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So God, the only thing that God faces, in my humble perspective, would be eternity itself, right? And so, what would you want to do with your eternity, right? Um, he decided to make family. He created family. He refers to himself. He says he's our father, right? Our father. So we are his children, and he wants our presence with him to face this eternity. Who knows what we'll be doing? Maybe we'll do
wants
this
our
again.
presence.
He created
That
he
seems
wants the
okay.
presence of other life forms that have free will and are capable of making choices, and you know,
Yeah, so okay, so
other
that
beings.
that checks out. So he has, there are these people that he wants. He wants to hang out with some people that he made. Now he made them in such a way that they're not perfect, right?
Right.
What happens if they end up being imperfect as he knew they would be?
Well, so I want to be, I want to be what's called, I know where you're going with this. So I want to be what's called an annihilationist. So you, as an atheist, you believe that when you die, nothing, right? Bam, black, nothing. I want to believe that's what you'll get. If you don't want to be part of eternity, if you don't want to be in the presence of God, God's not going to force you. And
Isn't there a whole
outside,
thing about hellfire though in the Bible?
well, yeah, we can go into those verses. Most of the verses that like Jesus's parables are very indicative of, you know, things burning, and like separate the wheat from the chaff, burn the chaff. And what happens to something when it burns? I mean, from dust you're made, to dust you shall return. I mean, it doesn't experience that burning forever. Maybe there's a place in some realm that has an eternally burning fire, and that's where your soul's going to go to get destroyed.
So it sounds like, and it just sounds like what you're telling me is that God created these things that he knew would not be perfect, and then when they're not perfect, he just destroys them.
No, when they don't want to be with him, he doesn't make them be with him.
So after a person dies,
eternity is terrifying, isn't it?
So after a person dies, they die. Do they get confronted? Do they get a choice to be with him?
I think that's probably something you have to make during your lifetime.
Okay, but then it seems like that it's not really about choice. It's like about experience and things that happen. If you're not given any direct evidence,
Well,
then there's not really a
God
choice to be
knows
made.
God knows your heart. He knows
Mhm.
what evidence you've been. So here's an example I like to give. So you have a 7-year-old and you have a 2-year-old, right? And
Mhm.
you're feeding them breakfast. The 2-year-old throws his bowl on the floor and laughs about it, ha ha ha. And then you're like, no, we don't do that. You need to eat your food. You made a mess. I have to clean it up.
Mhm.
The 7-year-old throws his bowl on the floor, looks at you and laughs, and you're like, okay, you know better. You know better. I've taught you this. We've been through this. We've been
Mhm.
over this. God that concept applies to our knowledge
But
of
apparently not.
what we've
right?
experienced. What do you mean apparently not?
Well, there are a lot of people who are what you might call there's a word for it, and it's blanking. It's a group of atheists who are not rejecting God. They just haven't been convinced that God is real.
Yeah, I mean,
It just seems like God hasn't
continue-
offered the required evidence. Non-resistant non-believer. Thank you, guys.
the required evidence? So
Yeah, look, like if you want to tell me that you built a plane, right? Well, like you're like a normal dude. So if you wanted to convince me of that, you'd have to like, give me something. Maybe like show me a video of like a, what's it called? Like a time lapse of you building the plane, or maybe show me your schematics, or maybe like, give me something. You have to give me some sort of evidence that, would convince me that you did build a plane. And similarly, if God wants to convince me that he exists, he knows exactly what it would take. So why hasn't he given it to me?
I mean, maybe he will.
Well, but there are people who die this way. There are people who end their lives as non-resistant non-believers.
Yeah. And
so why did God never give these people
here's a concept that may not necessarily
the thing
be
that they need to understand?
Here's a concept that may not necessarily be in the Bible, but you can't prove that I'm real. You can't prove that I have a soul. You can't prove that you're not the only one here, and that all of this isn't just.
I'm not asking for proof.
Matrix.
I'm asking for evidence. I'm asking for the evidence that would convince me, right?
Okay. So let me ask you this: Do you want to believe at all? Is there any
If
part
it's
of you
true,
that
absolutely.
would want to have
If it's true,
eternity?
absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I want to believe what's true.
Do you do any searching for evidence?
What do you think this is?
Yeah, you're touche, Bob. Yeah, good stuff. I've only been on here for a few minutes. I started with the Hindu guy, and I haven't heard anything very compelling yet either. But
You and me
yeah,
both, brother.
well, we're back to the beginning. I would love to give you more evidence. Have you ever read The Case for Christ? You ever read that book?
No, I haven't. I've heard about it, and I've heard.
Well, I would highly.
I've heard that it's very.
recommend-
I've heard that it's probably not worth my time.
Okay, well,
Like
I've heard
it's
that
not really
it
taken
is.
seriously by like the philosophical community. Not really taken seriously by the scientific community.
Yeah, those can be kind of snooty communities, can't they?
Well, but like these are the people that I would trust to make good evaluations of the evidence.
Okay, well, you're a smart guy. You can probably read about 1,200 words a minute. It won't take you too long.
I have no idea how fast I can read. That seems really
Yeah.
fast.
That's really fast. That's like really fast. But
No, I mean,
yeah,
surprisingly, I'm actually a fairly slow reader.
okay. Well, I am too. So
have you
yeah,
read
audiobooks? Audiobooks are good.
Have you read the Bhagavad Gita?
No, I'll go ahead and say no. You can say, "Have you read?" and I'll just go.
I
ahead
mean,
and
like,
say no.
look, so like, clearly you can't say that. Like, say that I'm not interested in reading the Case for Christ. God would know that, and God would present evidence in another way that would get to me, right? But he hasn't, which is a little bit suspect, right?
Hasn't yet, and
And it hasn't for a lot
maybe-
of people. A lot of people go to their graves this way.
Yeah, that's highly unfortunate.
So it just seems like that God isn't particularly interested in reaching everybody.
He may not be. I mean, some of us may be not heaven material. I pray that I am.
That seems pretty cruel to create something just to reject it.
Well, if the good ones didn't have examples of how not to
Oh, you
live,
don't want to say that. So all the people who all the people who are non-believers,
maybe I
they're
didn't want to say that.
yeah, because now that just makes it seem like all the people who don't end up in heaven, the only purpose of their life was to be a bad example for people who are believers.
Well,
that's not a good look.
So my only refutation to that would be they had a choice at some point in their life that they could have made.
Apparently
And
not.
there's also
You said that they're
there's
not
also
made for, they're not
generational.
having material.
There's also generational things that happen in the Bible, like from Noah's Ark. There was Shem, Ham, and Japheth were his sons.
You don't think Noah's Ark
and
happened, did you? Or do you?
I mean, I think the Bible's true. So
How did the
I think,
kangaroos get to Australia?
well, I don't know, man. Maybe
Like what,
we
they hopped
had
they hopped
ships.
from Turkey across the ocean?
Life regenerated. That's all. I mean, God snapped his fingers and life regenerated. I mean, we made ships and we took some deer over there and they grew pockets. I don't know.
Okay, man. Just seems like a big pill to
In
swallow.
the simulation, anything's possible, right? God
Well,
can snap his fingers. He can type in a little bit of code, and then anything
yeah,
can.
I mean, what
shift,
you're suggesting
change.
is just
Jesus
like,
could
yeah,
walk
there was
on water.
magic.
Yeah, I mean, you could call it magic, or you could call it, coding, whatever you want to call it. But insertion. You think God has no rights to, dabble in his creation?
If he exists, who knows what rights are, man, if he exists.
Yeah, exactly. Who are we to tell him what he should or shouldn't or can or can't do?
Well, I mean, either he gave us a good sense of morality, in which case we can absolutely use that sense of morality to evaluate his actions, or the sense of morality that he gave us is not correct, in which case we can't trust our instincts about morality whatsoever. So it becomes a little bit problematic. Look, Nate, I should probably let you go. I'm getting hungry for lunch.
Yeah, man, this has been good. You enjoy the rest of your day, and maybe I'll come back on sometime. I'll look into some stuff.
Sounds good, Nate. Thanks for being here.
All right, homie. Later.
Take care. All right, y'all. I'm gonna read some super chats and then we'll call it a day because I am getting hungry. Right. So from Brendan with the $2 Australian. What is your belief? I'm an atheist. It says it in big letters up here, right? From Ernesto Sousa with the €10, wouldn't it be relevant to study things like the Tilma of Our Lady of Guadalupe or the Shroud of Turin? Have you ever studied them or considered them? Yeah, I've looked into a lot of the so-called miracles, and I've looked into the Shroud of Turin a lot, and I've come to the conclusion that at best, some of them are kind of like, huh, that's kind of weird, and at worst, they're like literally fraud. From the Last Judge with the £10, thank you so much. Recently joined as a member, Blitz, and found your debate notes incredibly helpful. I love a debate as much as the next guy, but those hours of reading can get old. Many thanks, keep up the good work. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, so if you guys don't know, you can get access to my debate notes just by becoming a member on YouTube or on Patreon, and it's like $4 or $5 a month. It helps support the live stream too. Helps me, be able to stay above water, if you will. From Thad Logan with the $10, you're superb, Blitz. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. Well, I appreciate you. Very kind. From Bob the Monitor with the $10, isn't the idea of a grand deceiver god putting all humanity in a false reality theologically devastating to Christians? God is not the author of confusion and all that. Well, I don't think that they would take it that it's like it's a false reality. They would take that it's just as real as this one. It's just, created or something. From Vincent Devachris, hope I pronounced that right. Thank you for the $20 Australian. Something comes from something. Cause and effect, the direct relationship between event and consequence. That's true for everything in our universe, including the universe itself. The universe equals effect. Well, something being true for everything in the universe does not automatically make it follow for the universe itself, by the way. Furthermore, you could make the exact same argument with the claim that something comes from, or that for every physical thing that happens, there is a physical cause for that thing, in which case you would come to the conclusion that the universe itself has a physical cause if you believe that the universe began to exist, which would contradict the view that you're making that you're claiming here. And from Vincent again saying with the $5 fallacy to say, well, what came before God because he's outside our universe? Use of our laws to explain that which is outside our universe is a fallacy. Well, use of laws that apply within the universe to apply to the whole universe is also a part whole fallacy. So from literally Lou with the $10 appreciate you. I appreciate you too, Lou. From Dr. Fudge with the $2, Strobel is a joke, nobody listens to him. Yeah, that's what I was trying to convey. From Too Fun with the 10 Canuck bucks, big ups to you, Dr. Blitz. Love your work and dedication to truth. I do my best. And that's it. I'm just going to double check and make sure I don't have any any cash apps or anything along those lines. Looks like I didn't miss any. So guys, I may or may not be live tomorrow. It depends on if I can get things rescheduled for an appointment that I have. Again, lots of appointments in the coming weeks and months. So may or may not be live tomorrow. We'll see. But if not, then I'll probably see you on Sunday for an unapologetic, extravagant